The River City, Cincinnati, Ohio, for the third consecutive year, playing host to the Superkarts USA Spring Nationals. The Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, just located about 40 minutes away from downtown Cincinnati, Ohio, in the hills of Batavia. Over 220 drivers here in attendance. Myself, Xander Clemens, alongside Rob Howden, back here for day number 2 of on-track activity. This circuit has provided a ton of great moments already just with day 1 in the books, and we have still yet to run our Pro Shifter main event. Rob, let's go ahead and take our fans here through our kart class official track map preview. 95/10 of a mile, 16 turns around this circuit.
Yeah, now I finally had a chance to see some racing around this racetrack. They're going to run down out of turn number, essentially 14, 15, down into turn number 1, a very quick left-hander. Number of issues of drivers going off on the exit. That was a big talking point yesterday. That left-hand hairpin, turn number 2, through the kink of 3, back down into another very good passing opportunity, turn 4, snaking through that 5, 6, 7 combination through turn number 8 as well, back through turn number 9 and 10 and 11. A crucial run onto the straightaway, down to the back part of the racetrack, big sweeping left-hander. And then Xander, that last complex of corners, we saw lots of passes on the inside of that corner, and of course the run to the line as well.
And 13 turns on our map here, 16 on the official map. But the important part here is that you've got a number of ways, not only off the racetrack to try and make the most of it, but on the circuit as well. We saw a number of big moments yesterday alone. And here as we get things started, a lot of storylines this weekend have been about the weather. Yesterday it was 60% humidity and climbing into the low 80s. The track temp scorched all the way up to 130 degrees at one point. And today, off the back of some overnight showers, we've got a very, very damp Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati that has greeted us here this morning. K Junior just getting things started for their warm-up session, and with the first day of the Spring Nationals in the books, we start to get a bit of a read of what the championship picture begins to look like now, halfway through the official season. First and foremost here with K100 Junior. Yesterday's main event, Rob, obviously K Junior's pre-final set what was a pretty high bar for entertainment value in that main event. That 10-lapper was wild. Ashton Woon had a very wild ride early in that session. And then in the main event, things were still pretty action-packed up at the front of the field. And it ended up with Marco Sammet going to victory lane, of course. That was a bittersweet kind of moment for him because he had such a rough go of things in Tucson. He still finds himself well outside the championship picture. His teammate, his new teammate, on the other hand, Travis Pettit, evaded the day, still with the championship points lead before drops get factored in. 50 points up on Woon, who, to Ashton Woon's credit, he set the high bar of how many karts he passed in that final. That was incredible.
Yeah, he came from deep in the field to work his way back forward, and it probably could have got a little bit more at the very end if not for some of that chaos through the final complex of corners. But, I saw essentially the Brandon Jarzacrack racing duo of Sammet and Pettit really kind of work together. I think Travis's arrival on the team has lit a fire under Marco Sammet as well, which paid off with a victory, as you said, yesterday. Otherwise, you had Tristan Murphy in there, Nathan Golfus on the podium as well. It was just great racing in KA100 Junior, not surprising at all. We had the storyline of Woon coming from the back, but I think we'll press the reset button and do it again because the bottom line is the guys up front, Xander looked very comfortable there. It's not like they were struggling for pace. Really, it was just a lot of back and forth racing.
And the interesting part of a warm-up session like this, when you know that the qualifying session coming up is going to be in about an hour and a half's time and that you've got a lot of groups that are going to take to the racetrack afterwards, you're not going to see everyone, including yesterday's winner. Marco Sammet is on the sidelines among many that have opted to not take advantage of this warm-up session and go out to the racetrack. Nathan Golseth on that last lap did go quickest. A handful more are going to try and dethrone him here as they cross the line. But overall, we are missing in total about 10 of them from the K100 Juniors. So we'll go and take a look here at the final standings from this initial warm-up session. Nathan Golseth by a 10th and a half here over Ashton Woon and Valentino Santillan.
David Cole and I were talking about this on the way in, wondering how many people would potentially present themselves onto the racetrack. Do you need to be on the racetrack right now in these kind of conditions? Yes, there's a potential for wet weather to come this afternoon, but are you learning much from a dry and wet track, more of a damp track? As you can see, as you look at the screen, there's a lot of dry areas. The sun is shining pretty brightly. It is warm here right now, but expecting maybe some wet weather this afternoon. I'm not surprised at a number of drivers electing to maybe check out on this one here and just focus on qualifying coming up.
Looks like the whole BJR crew stayed in the paddock. Travis Pettit, no time turn. Same for Ava Malikova, Robert Lash, Cruz Rodriguez. So 26 of our 36 in total taken to the racetrack. Kai Park, Nico Katowski as well. We're still, though, just getting our morning started. So is Caleb Vieska. And Caleb, good morning to you as we, where are you?
Well, good morning to you as well, Xander. It is early in the morning, and I'm making myself an espresso here with my good friends over at Kart CRG USA. They got the morning setup in here. They got donuts over here. I don't think they'd be too happy if I stole one, but I think the espresso is probably gonna do its job. This is hot. I'm not gonna take a sip, but this should give me that little wake me up that I need to get ready for a great day of racing here at MCC. Back to you guys.
Well, I guess whatever go-go juice you need to get going there, Caleb. We need
high
you
test
to wake
start
up.
the day.
Yeah, I guess he wore himself out yesterday playing goalkeeper, playing ping pong. Lost in ping pong, but he did make the ultimate stop there. So he's got the same track record in soccer as Team USA right now, 1-0. Good for him. We'll see if that holds today.
I'm sure that he was he put the steps on the counter yesterday, working his way, of course, around the paddock, around the pit lane as well. A lot of great interviews from Caleb yesterday. But yeah, get some espresso into you. Let's fire things up. It's gonna be a long day today with a lot of racing and maybe some wild conditions. I expect we're gonna get a lot of input from drivers on how they're gonna approach what could be a changing day of weather.
Well, while the micro slips go on the racetrack, let's see if we can't pull the full top 10 of the pre-drop standings here up on screen for you all and give you a look at what K Junior looks like now that they have parked their warm-up session, and the micro slips will be going out on the racetrack here momentarily, presented by Grupo Santana Vega. With the K100 Junior class, Travis Pettit again on top of the championship leaderboard. With Ashton Woon in second. Tristan Murphy, after the pre-drop standings and a solid day yesterday, closed the gap tremendously to get all the way up within 53 markers of the points leader. Nathan Golseth, fastest in warm-up, 65 out of the lead before the drops come in. Cameron Johnson, 75 out of the lead. Braden Wagner, 141 back in sixth. Colton Schneegenberg still in the hunt. And then realistically, things change quite a bit when you bring in the drop standings for the KA Junior class as well. Tristan Murphy, if you were to take the best 2 out of 3 rounds, would inherit the points lead by 6 marks.
And I think Xander now at the halfway point as we go into the second half of the season here. 3 races down, 3 to go essentially coming into today and then the Summer Nationals. Now you can start looking at that drop, right? You don't want to look at that after the first weekend. Now I think it's a good time to say, hey, you know what? What does the drop race look like? If you can have a clean race here today and then head to the Summer Nationals, you have to start thinking about who's up top, who's got that drop race that could move them back to the front. They may not look like they're in contention with that potential issue for a drop, but they're actually right there if they're able to run clean and green through to the remainder of the season.
And with Murphy in front there over Woon coming into today, I mean, that means that obviously they need to keep that momentum up that they had yesterday. They need another solid day. Ashton Woon with the big turnaround, right? It still puts him in a great spot over Travis Pettit. Travis's consistency originally had him on the top of the box. Nathan Golseth improves by about 11 markers here. If you were to count drops in and take it as the best 2 out of 3 rounds on the championship, and a couple other names towards the bottom change up. But now that we've got it up here for you, we'll show you what it will look like as well with the pre-drop standings here. So it goes from Tristan Murphy at 518 over the best 2 out of 3. And then this is overall the 3 rounds so far. Travis Pettit on top, 697. Ashton Woon, 50 back. Tristan Murphy, 53 back. Nathan Golseth, Cameron Johnson kind of hovers that 5th to 6th spot, and the rest of the top 10 around the same. But again, the gaps obviously would tighten if you were only doing a 2-round championship versus a 3.
And it's always why I kind of look at round 4 being so crucial. Everybody talks about that last round, going to the Summer Nationals, but round number 4, if you're in the hunt, in the fight, this is where you can't make that mistake. If you potentially already have a bad result, like we saw the guys that bumped up because of a drop, if you already have that drop race that you'll likely use by the end of the season if you're in championship contention, round number 4 is going to be crucial. You either stack another fantastic result on top to lock things down and give yourself the opportunity to potentially drop a race at the Summer Nats, or you recover after a potential drop in the first 3 races, and then you really have to start that run towards the finale at Newcastle with a really good result here today. Round 4, I think, always very crucial in the championship fight.
And now with a minute and a half into the micro slip session, we get to see them take to the racetrack here, following a couple. This is Cohen Scott on the Kid X USA machine, and there's an issue for Trey Sanders. Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro Kart around over at turn 11, but Cohen Scott had a decent day. The micro slip class yesterday had an interesting storyline in their championship conversation as well, here with a minute 15 for them to go. Pre-drop standings about as close as it can get, and we'll certainly touch on it here with a minute to go in their session. But first, let's head down to pit lane here as we gear up, not just for the micro slips, but the rest of the classes as well, including Pro Shifter with their warm-up session. Caleb.
Yeah, and as you guys kind of touched on it, right? Mixed conditions out here today. It rained overnight. Still, damp areas on the racetrack, and we have some mixed strategies going out for warm-up here. Vincenzo Cerosino on a scrub set of wet weather tires. The same for Jay Irwin, who's working his way to the grid here. He's got, again, a set of these intermediate scrubbed in wet weather tires, and then you look at the other side of the grid, Justin White, he's on a just normal set of of slick tires, and up here as well, we work our way up with AJ Myers, and we'll actually speak to AJ. We haven't talked to him all too much. He's on slicks, getting ready to go out for the warm-up session. What are you looking for this morning, AJ, here with the mixed conditions on the racetrack?
Breaking my engine. That's about it.
Nothing more, nothing less?
No, if you look at the track, it's half wet, half dry. So, I mean, there's nothing you're going to learn out there right now for the pre-final. It's just make sure everything's running right and, breaking the engine.
And I know we haven't talked much this weekend. Just kind of get me up to speed with how things have been. I know it maybe hasn't been the straightforward weekend you would have wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I was fast Friday, missed Thursday, so it was great to be fast Friday. And then Saturday, no warm-up with the red flag and missed qualifying setup. Ended up 11th first heat. Guy in front misses the start, ended up going backwards. The speed's okay to go forward. And second heat again, starting 11th. Got tangled in some stuff on the first lap and had to work my way back forward until the engine went. So just a rough day all around, so hope for some better things today.
Well, AJ, it's a new day, luckily, so wish you the best of luck later on today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Yeah, AJ Myers got a top 10 yesterday, and then obviously had the motor issue, so that tracks.
It's interesting when you go back to Friday or for qualifying when we talked about the warm-up session when we had that red flag. And a couple of drivers have mentioned how much that kind of changed things into qualifying, right? Didn't get a chance. Whatever you may have done from Thursday, you got a feel for the kart, what you wanted to change. That warm-up, well, for a lot of drivers, is that first opportunity to feel what those changes are like. I think Gavin Bailiff said the same thing. They made major changes. They come back out. They don't get a chance to feel those changes because the red flag came out in the warm-up. So they throw themselves into a very short, as we know, qualifying section to try to make Super Pole, not knowing whether or not those changes worked. And AJ, again, another driver that mentioned that in an interview.
Well, I mean, it's probably a best-case scenario for the track as damp as it is to do the engine break-in now because he's not surrendering any track learning for sure. Their pre-final coming up later on today. Micro Swift will have qualifying later on today as well. Liam Compatiello quickest in the warm-up here.
For me, this session, you're not going to learn anything. Exactly what AJ said. This is you're either going to go out and break in an engine. For young drivers, remember they just had a night's sleep. Get out there, clear out the cobwebs, wake up a little bit so that they're going to be focused when they go qualifying. Again, look at the racetrack here now. You're not learning anything. You got guys on old tires. You got guys on scrubbed reins. You're not putting new reins on right now. It's just an opportunity to go out and kind of, again, clear out the cobwebs.
Well, we'll take a quick break, folks. When we return, Pro Shifter to the racetrack for their first warm-up session. Their last quick check for racing gets underway later on.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy. Because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Sunoco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Pro Shifter on to the racetrack for the warm-up session. As always, here on the Perico pre-race show, it's up to all of us to try and tell you who we think is going to go to the top, as we see a problem there for Angel Reynoso. But warm-up underway, 4 minutes to go until the checkers, so we've got just enough time to run through everybody. And Rob, we'll be getting ready to start things with you. So today in Pro Shifter, who do you got taking the round 2 win?
I think you have to think of the body of work on the weekend. You got to think of how they did yesterday, where they're going to start the pre-final. I'm going to go with Matheus Morgado. He's going to be my pick for the win. Obviously, a fantastic weekend at the Winter Nationals. I think he's going to come through. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be starting up front. It's a hard place to pass in the shifter kart category. If Morgado's able to start on the pole position, I think he's got an opportunity to come away with the win.
I think it's a solid one. We'll get Matheus Morgado, obviously the round 1 winner. Coming on a wave of momentum, second in qualifying, starting on the pole today in the pre-final. Yep. It's a safe pick. It's a very safe, safe pick. Caleb Vieska down in pit lane. I know you've got some ideas as well. We'll be getting ready to hear from him in a moment. So the session underway. There's the number 5 plate himself, the former Pro Tour champ. Rob's pick. Caleb, who do you got?
Xander, Rob is a very, very smart man. He's watched shifter racing for a very, very long time, had a magazine, Shifter Illustrated, back in the day. And look, I'm with him here. Matheus Morgado has been lights out all year long, but not just him. The Sodi camp has been the chassis, the team to beat all around the world. That's why Matheus Morgado is going to be my pick. Look, it's going to be great racing. I think Musgrave can have a shot, but Matheus, with what he showed in Tucson over the long run, with what he showed here 2 years ago over the long run, I think he's really the one to beat here this weekend.
All right, so that's 2. That's 2 for the Brazilian Matheus Morgado. Fair enough, fellas. I understand it. I get it. All right, he is a rock star, no question about it. He is someone who has won multiple times. He has won at this very venue, and of course, we've got a special extra trophy going to the winner today. There's also a $1,000 cash bonus from the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. So it'll be a $6K purse if Matheus could rack up $11K over the first 2 rounds to start the year. That's a hefty payday to take back to the Velocity Racing Sodi camp. But that in mind, look, I got to be a little bit different than you guys. We can't all just go with the man starting up front. Obviously, yesterday, the driver I spent the most time with here in the booth was the big guy, or maybe the slightly larger guy now, as Danny Formalis cut some weight. I like my chances with the number 30. Well, I liked my chances with the number 37.
Perfect timing.
Won't be the same right now. Danny Formal, a little moment here in turn number 4. But look, the track is obviously going to dry out here in the morning. The rain that we have potentially, as the forecast has continued to change throughout the day, seems like it's really only going to be a factor at the very later stage of the afternoon. I think we're going to be on a dry track for the final. And don't get me wrong, I think the entire GFC group looks really good. My heart wants to say Kyle Wick. But over the experience and over the fact that if it's the head-to-head battle, Danny came out on top at Newcastle, I'm going to go a slightly safe route. But a route that I think still could pay some dividends, and I'm picking number 37 here for mine today. Kyle Cuthbertson for our last and 4th pick here in Pro Shifter. Who do you have for us taking the top step of the podium today and a $6K payday from Cincinnati?
Thank you, Xander. I actually really like your pick there of going with your heart, of thinking with your heart, Kyle Wick. I have that same thought. I think if I was going with my heart, I'd have to pick Kyle Wick. But when I look at the GFC guys, I agree with you. I think they're going to need some luck when you look past at all the kind of the issues they've had this weekend, but they are the fastest. But instead of taking the safe route, I think it's going to rain. And when I think about rain and Pro Shifter, I have to think about the guy who, every time I feel like it's rained on Kart Chaser, he's the first guy to comment, oh, it always rains when I'm not there. I think Marian Kremers is going to get it done in the wet today.
And he's got a safe spot to start from in the pre-final if it is any bit wet.
So Kremers and Wick were two of the drivers I looked at because they both obviously flex their muscles in each other into the heat races, right? Kremers was able to get one, but he also got a DNF, finishing at the very tail of the field. Boer goes off here as well, but same thing with Kyle Wick. Super good in the first heat race, but then has that issue with the spark plug, finishes at the back of the pack, comes back and wins heat race number 2. I'm with Kyle on both of those drivers being right there. My worry is they're going to be starting deeper in the field for the pre-final. If they're not able to work their way forward enough, they're going to be deeper in the field for the start of the main as well.
Well, we do have a bit of a look of the pre-final grid. We also have a little look of what pace could be on an intermediate track just like this. Billy Musgrave fastest here in warm-up at a 58.61. That's 6.5 seconds off of where the fastest times we've seen over the weekend have been. Kyle Wick pole at a 51.9. So obviously still off the pace, but just about that crossover to slick tires. Justin White, Teo Blin for a Talcart making his American debut. The driver from France, Kyle Wick, 4th. And Noah Zarsk rounds the top 5. We'll take a quick break once again here, folks, as we run you through the rest of the drivers from the warm-up session here in Pro Shifter. More practicing, more pre-race coverage here from Cincinnati on the other side of the break.
Hey guys, another Kart Chaser driver fitness episode with me, Chris G. And today we're doing some upper back movements. Here we go. Exercise number 1 today we're doing is the reverse grip lat pull down. This exercise movement is one of my favorites because it works your grip strength, your biceps, and most importantly, works that lat area that also protects those ribs in the seat. Exercise number 2 today, the dumbbell chest supported row. Don't forget, good stretch at the bottom, and bring them right to your hips like that, keeping your back nice and arched, shoulders back. Think about having good posture in the cart. Exercise number 3, the inverted Smith machine rows. Grip strength, back strength, overall amazing workout. Thanks again for joining me on another Kart Chaser driver fitness episode with me, Chris G. Race ready training that carries into real life.
IAMI USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race in his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. KA Senior Warm-Up now underway as Pro Shifter Warm-Up has just drawn to a close. One really cool bit about this facility, Rob, obviously this is your first time here. We've gotten to visit this place a number of times over the years. It is a beautiful, beautiful facility here that Sean Bailiff, Greg Heyman, their entire crew have put together. It's obviously the 30. They've hosted the SKUSA Spring Nats. They've hosted an event now at this point from every major national promoter, CKNA, Stars, USPKS, Rotax, of course, last weekend again. You name it. And he's got something really, really, really cool for the Pro Shifter winners. We've talked about how picturesque the place is here, nestled in the woods, and it's got a golf course just behind it. It's obviously a little prettier from the driver's seat if you're able to stay on the asphalt, but the green stuff holding up well. And one of the cool things we wanted to do this year that Sean had a really cool idea. We've talked about how it really is somewhat like the Augusta National of the kart tracks that we visit here. He's got the wooden picket fences. Well, this year we'll be taking a tradition play out of the playbook of the Masters. And so back on Friday afternoon, Sean Bailiff presented green jackets to the 2024 Pro Shifter main event winner Mateus Morgado, and as well to last year's 2025 Pro Shifter main event winner Josh Conker. And those two, if they aren't the eventual winner today, which obviously you and Caleb have picked Mateus to get a second jacket here today, they will be presenting the third edition of the Spring Nats at MCC winner a jacket and an MCC green hat as well. Really cool tradition. He's also pledging, of course, $1,000 cash on top of the $5K check that the winner would get to make this, event have an even bit more of a cultural kind of following to it. The Summer Nats, of course, has now just become, a mainstay at Newcastle in very similar ways as, IndyCar going to Mid-Ohio on July 4th weekend. Indeed. Or a number of the crown jewel events like the Southern 500 at Darlington for NASCAR. The Summer Nats at Newcastle is that. And over the last 3 years, it's a short stint here at MCC, but it has certainly felt like this round of the championship has become synonymous with this place. And so now adding this onto is, I think, a really cool touch. It's going to be really cool for you at the podiums to be able to be part of that presentation. Yeah,
what a fantastic deal for sure, and a great little addition. Obviously, everybody knows about the Masters and Augusta National, and to have, number one, date equity, location equity, and have Superkarts USA coming here potentially on a regular basis. I love that addition. A little bit of tradition is always something good in the sport.
Well, when we talk about tradition here in KA Senior, the tradition part is the fact we've got some traditional names that are at the top of the championship leaderboard. There's still obviously a little bit of carnage going on here, the warm-up session, and a number of the big names sitting out from it. We still have a couple of the big ones that are out there. Paulie Massimino up into second, Caleb Gaffera, Caden McQueen. And as the checkered falls in the session here, let's take a look at the pre-drop standings for KA100 Senior as well. Now, coming into the weekend here, Caden McQueen off the back of a very, very solid opening Winter Nationals performance in Tucson, had a hefty lead over the field. But Paulie Massimino and Diego Ramos, they were quite simply, Rob, the class of the field yesterday. There was no question about it, and that has been reflected, of course, in the pre-drop standings coming into today. Paulie now with a 91-point lead over Caden McQueen and Chase Hand.
Listen, I'll throw Chase Hand in there as well. He was the driver who was really trying to disrupt all those guys up front, right in the middle of it as well. Only 120 points behind pre-drop right now. So those three drivers looking very good. But Diego Ramos, let's say, stepping things up. That when we see the drop numbers, he's going to be right there as well. So Diego just got a lot of head of steam right now. This could be very interesting coming into, of course, round 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, here are the drop numbers right on your cue, Rob. 20 points back now would be Diego Ramos. A very good 2-round score thus far. Again, that means that, of course, being that far back with the pre-drop and this good here with the drop standings, he's going to need to be flawless from here on out. The same goes for Caden McQueen. Not an ideal day yesterday. He posted on his social media saying yesterday was kind of damage limitation. Had a good, solid run. It was a banker drop round, if you will. But he's going to need to have some high marks here today, and honestly some high marks at Newcastle with how good that BJR 940 machine has been performing in 2026.
Hey, listen, Paulie Massimino is one of the absolute best in the sport right now, so that's one of the things. You're not just up against the guy with good points. You're up against the guy that you know every time they unload at a racetrack, he's going for the race win. When he doesn't get it, he's not a happy camper. The same thing is going to go for Ruben Moya as well, right? He was excluded from the Saturday action, round number 1 at the Winter Nationals in Tucson, so that's their drop there. Now he's got to focus on finishing up front in all the races. You saw just a little over 110 points back with the drop. So, again, no opportunity for he and Ramos to have another one of those bad weekends. Every race day needs to be up front, stacking up the points from qualifying all the way through the pre-final to the final. And I think that's the other thing we need to look at, Xander. When you want to try to move up, if you're not a Paulie Massimino or a Ramos, those guys right at the very front, you can't let any points lay on the table, right? You need those qualifying points. You need to finish up front in the pre-finals. You can't lay back because you want an inside starting point, going from second to third because you want the inside row starting. Every point's going to count, and you can't leave anything on the table.
And I think the thing that we learned watching that main event unfold, especially over the lengthy 22 laps that it was, that realistically your starting spot, as long as you could survive the first couple of corners, didn't really matter all too much. You just needed to be in the top 5, top 6 by about lap 2. And I think that's why when we interview a lot of the drivers pre-race, a lot of their answers are all very the same. I just want to get through the start and we go from there, because realistically the starting order, in my opinion, doesn't matter as much at a lot of these events as it does where you are in the order after lap 2 or after lap 3. Yeah. It's where it shakes out from there. That's your almost true starting position. Then the race really gets underway.
Yeah, so the first race within the race is those first 2 or 3 laps, right, to get yourself where you need to be for the remainder of the run.
Well, there's nobody better that could give us some insight in terms of how to get it done here in KA Senior than the data guy and good friend of Diego Ramos, Lucas Noguera. Caleb standing by, as we saw there over in the pit area with the PSL TKG crew.
Yeah, thank you, Xander. I'm standing by here with Lucas. Look, Diego had a flawless day yesterday. I know you guys have kind of been chasing those BJR guys in KA Senior all year, but yesterday you guys found it. What were you telling your driver after the day and during the day to kind of get him up to speed?
Yeah, it was a really good day for Diego yesterday. We've been exactly chasing the BGR. They have a great package. They have a lot of speed in this track and the other tracks. Basically trying to drive behind them, studying them on the race. On the KA, Diego managed to put himself in the first position. We were kind of scared with Paulie and Overbeck on the finish line to kind of push each other and pass us on the outside. We got lucky that Chase Hand did a move on the outside and got in between them. Diego was able to block. They are a bit ahead on the championship, right? So they have more to lose. So I just told Diego, look, we basically got nothing to lose. So just put yourself in a position and don't let them take it. And on the X30, we had an unlucky pre-final. We started last on the final, managed to get P4. Maybe if we had another lap, maybe P3 or even P2. It's been really good for him and the rest of the team. Basically, everybody's chasing. Eric is fast as well as Diego. We just need a bit more luck on the races. Unlucky day for Jay, but today's a new day. We're starting last on the shifter, try to make some spas and be there for the final, trying to chase the championship.
And a new day for sure, right? You talk about championship. Today is probably going to be one of the hardest days that we have this year in 2026. We're expecting rain. Yeah. What are you kind of telling your drivers? How are you guys looking to approach today?
So I don't remember the last time we had rain in Cincinnati. I've been here for the past 2-3 years. I don't remember.
I don't think we ever have had a main event here in wet weather, Lucas.
Yeah. So there's one guy that knows how to drive here in the rain. It's Bailiff. So he's on the same chassis as us. We're gonna have a talk with him before the race. Try to get some tips. Hey, where can we go? Where can we not go? And I'm really confident with our drivers on the rain. So I'm pretty sure we can do a good job. Starting last is difficult for Jay, but the rain will change it, right? And it will make the pack different. Whoever's really fast might not be as fast, and whoever's slow could be faster. So everything can change, and for us it's good if we're starting in the back.
Thank you, Lucas, and best of luck today.
Thank you, guys.
Guys?
Rain's the great equalizer.
It makes the data jobs, guys, easy. I mean, he's got to call the setup right. I think the hardest part really for him will just be gearing because a rain setup for the most part is pretty stagnant. But in terms of doing data analysis after the session in the rain, I mean, the track changes lap by lap, corner by corner. So compared to the dry conditions here, you're only able to really give so much feedback to the drivers when comparing each other. Because if you go back and look on the session that just happened, well, the next session is probably going to be vastly different. Already we're seeing the track change quite a bit here over the course of the day. Already the times are coming down quite a bit closer to where they were yesterday.
David Cole out there right now from EKN, of course, working the track, taking some photos, says downhill left still damp into turn number 11. Turn 3 still some wet spots. Straight to turn number 4 still damp. So there's, again, you can see there is a lot of dry parts of this racetrack, but you have to be very cognizant of where it is still damp and not throw it off. We've seen a couple of drivers off the racetrack doing just that thing. So, indeed, track is drying out. We've still got some time to work our way through these warm-ups. We'll see if it plays at all for qualifying for KA Master, the first category, to take that time session. But otherwise, the track, Xander, as you said, evolving throughout the morning. We're expecting potential to have that wet weather sometime. Maybe it'll hold off. Maybe we won't have anything at all. And there you go. Driver having some issues out there. But for the most part, if there is that transition coming through, that session is going to be a wild one to watch.
Certainly. Now let's talk X30 Junior here now as we watch them, the later classes here. This is where the warm-up is probably going to be as good as it could be for their qualifying, but honestly worse for them, I think, later in the day because the rain that we keep talking about, from everything I can tell, it's going to affect those last 3 to 4 mains if it does at all. It has pushed back later in the day. Now, there still is a couple laps that are thinking we might have a chance earlier in the day in the first batch of main events, but I think our chances are equally likely, if not higher, for this class, and yet they're going to have one of the drier warm-up sessions of the bunch. And when it comes down to their point standings, of course, off the back of yesterday, a lot to talk about there too. Here with Ruben Gutierrez, yesterday, a big day for Ruben, puts him certainly up there in the conversation of contenders for today, but he was far from the championship conversation coming in and currently isn't in it at the moment. But we're early on in the chase, right? Travis Pettit, Ashton Moon, they were the class of the field in Tucson, Arizona. And, of course, Travis, once again, solid day here in Cincinnati with a race win. It puts him 156 markers up over the field. And then Tristan Murphy. And then quickly with the pre-drop standings as well. Taking a look at those when they factor, or with the drop standings, sorry. This is from the pre-drop, but with the drop standings, it tightens up, and yet Travis still is going to end up with a pretty sizable advantage over the rest of the X30 juniors on track.
Any driver would have taken a big drop or a big lead like that after the first 3 rounds, first half of the season. Travis is in a great place right now. Ashton Moon's got to match what he did in the second half of the season to get himself back into the fight. You see it's even 70 points with the drop already factored in. So Pettit's in the position right now that if he keeps the hammer down, could potentially get himself into a spot where come round number 6 at the Summer Nationals, he doesn't need to have much of a result to come away with a championship.
Well, thankfully, Caleb Viesca's got at least one part of the individuals that have the secret sauce that have had Travis Pettit so fast here this weekend. Austin Miles, the official driver coach and data analyst for Brandon Jarskrak Racing. Down with Caleb.
Yeah, thank you, Xander. Austin, again, we spoke to Lucas about Diego. We'll ask you here about Paulie and James because they have been lights out, and your guys really have been lights out. One of the best KA senior packages right now in the nation. Just kind of talking about all the hard work you guys have done to get to this point.
It's a lot of work, mainly from Paulie. James is putting in a lot of work as well here at MCC with his new program, James Overbeck Academy. But Paulie's been putting a lot of work in the last few years, just doing everything, all the driving at track house, coaching at track house, and like it's a team effort here. We just all put our heads together. Brian and Robbie at BBS are awesome. Brandon manages everything really, really well, and just having a good core team, good mechanics, good people to be around. We have fun, and we also go fast at the same time. Like, it's just good feelings to be able to win, be fast. We're always usually fast here. Won with James a couple of times here already. Try to get him another one this weekend if we can. And then Paulie's won here too, obviously. So our program's doing really, really good. Junior program has stepped up big. Having Travis Pettit under the tent now definitely is put us a step up. Marco's definitely stepped up to the plate too, and like that was a huge win for him yesterday. Just good dominance on defending, and he never thought he had that in him. So Paulie and I said, well, we've never seen you do it before. So, yeah, this weekend's been really good. Hopefully we can end it on a high note. Hopefully this weather doesn't mess with us too much this afternoon, but we'll see.
Well, let's go into that, right? Because the weather is one of the big things that is in everybody's minds. What are you kind of telling your guys? How do you prepare for today?
For me, being from Florida, wet doesn't bother me very much, but for some of our guys, most of them are from the Northeast, so not really too much wet weather driving there. So it's a good bit of just me trying to coach them through on where to be on the racetrack, Brandon trying to coach them through on where to be on the racetrack. Brandon was pretty decent in the wet when he raced, so just kind of the two of us trying to help coach them through. Paulie's not terrible in the wet, not the best, especially against the likes of Joe Turney and Gus Lawrence. Guys from the UK are just lights out in the wet, so much like us Floridians.
And again, I got to ask you, Smiles, how do you do it? You got so many guys in the tent week after week. I see you running around. We walked in here, you were downloading data, and we just stole 2 minutes with you. How do you manage doing all this and still being there for your guys?
It's a lot, but I'm pretty efficient with my time, at least try to be. Paulie also helps out big, being able to just kind of like bounce stuff off of him. He jumps in. If I'm backed up, he jumps in and tries to help out as much as he can as well. So, like I said, big team effort here. Like there is no lack of assistance necessary at any point in time. Everybody is always here and willing to jump in at any point in time. So it's a big help having, especially Paulie, who I've been training data-wise, trying to get him to the point of me. Right, and I'm still trying to excel to get to the point of an Alex speed, right? Alex is the one that taught me everything, Mike as well, and just trying to always strive to be them or better than them, right? And I'm trying to get Paulie to do the same thing, and he's been coming along fantastic. So it's, like I said, big team effort as always. So
yeah, thank you, Austin. We appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
Guys?
Xander, I can say from my own experience, being racing with Brandon Jarsekrak Racing and Precision Performance Karting at the CKNA Grand Nationals, I've sat down at the computer many, many times with Austin Miles and breaking down what I do wrong as a guy that gets a chance to race maybe once or twice a year. He knows that. He knows my limitations, but the input that he's able to give to me as we go over data, I think that's a component of the sport that a lot of people don't realize is so crucially important. When I'm working and I'm in the paddocks at IndyCar races with the USF Pro Championships, I try to tell people that they can't underestimate the level of actual competition, both on the racetrack and off the racetrack, when it comes to North American karting or karting as a whole. They don't realize that we have data engineers, and the amount of it's literally a USF Pro team is exactly the same as a karting team in terms of engineers and mechanics and data engineers. It's exactly the same thing, and that's why the kids transition through to car racing so easily. They've already done it from the age of 6, 7, 8 all the way through till they make the transition to cars.
Certainly. I mean, in this mini swift class, every single time these kids are coming off track, they're staring at line charts, they're staring and getting coached on onboard video as well. The accessibility of that, and a huge kudos to AIM especially, right? The AIM truck, the Micron 5 data gauges, I mean, they have been exceptional in this sport by having on-site support at almost every single marquee event, and even a number of regional events as well, having someone there on property to help everybody because everyone's leaning on it. And at this point, like you said, it's a tool that is essentially a practical necessity, right? You don't really see hardly anyone at any given go-kart track down to the local levels running without an onboard Micron 5 or now Micron 6 data gauge that's given them all kinds of readings from not just lap times. I remember hearing the likes of Mark Dismore Jr. talk about the first time he put a tachometer on, and everybody thought that was crazy. And then now we look at where we have evolved to, and the ability for even a layman to be able to learn and understand the basics of what you can get. It's laid out in the sense in that Race Studio software that you can certainly get down with a good data engineer and pick a lot of things apart. I know some of the best of them. For example, Andy Schlosser, who was the engineer on the car for Robert Schwartzman last year when he put it on the pole at the Indy 500. He was one of the best that could tell what the go-kart was doing even when in the micro or mini Swift class, the kid might not be able to give you the exact
so
feedback because he doesn't know it yet because he's
Yep.
still learning himself, right? And so there's a lot you can pull away from the data to see if you have a bit of understeer or oversteer, if you need to make a change more so to the front or the rear, not to mention some of the basics of just mile per hour. And that's something that, even I can understand of looking over across the okay, well, I'm 2 miles an hour faster in the middle of the corner or 2 miles an hour slower, and that's the difference between me going faster or slower than this guy with a rolling delta. And using that on track, too. I mean, you can have a rolling delta in front of your eyes that you can check on these short shoots to see if you try a corner differently or not. And that makes the practice session sometimes hard to read because the best guys, Joe Turney, one of them, who Austin mentioned, we never see him really go to the top in practice. And the reason for that is the best drivers, they're never purposely putting full laps together.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a section, then slow in another section to kind of keep their cars close to the chest.
Because the systems allow you to see what your theoretical best is, the best drivers can do that. You and I can go out and run 20 laps, piece together all our best segments to get a theoretical best. But I know I can't do it. I don't know if you can say
no, I mean, we're both trying.
I'm not going to be able to.
Our theoretical is a true theoretical.
Exactly.
Their theoretical is the actual what they can do.
They can go out and do it.
They're using that to their advantage to
100%.
hide, again, their lines and
so true.
And also not to put the competitors on alert. I mean, how many times Gus Lawrence was a good example yesterday. He looked very evenly matched to Jesus Vasquez, to Paulie, to everyone. In those last 5 laps, he was not necessarily 2 tenths over the whole field. But when you factor in the fact that the grass is so close, how many drivers we've seen gone off in the warm-up, but even in the dry, in this nasty, gnarly area at the exit of 11, the leader dealing with that, and Gus was still neck and neck with everyone else getting toe laps further back in the field. He had an edge. And he didn't show it.
I will say this, because to kind of cap this section, is that you are really making me feel my age right now, because you're talking about where we've gone with data loggers through all the iterations of the Micron, right? And you're talking about Mark Dismore Jr. I think about going back to the days when I first started in the mid-'90s. Literally, I remember getting my first gauge of Red Eye Electronics just to get the tack. To be able to have the tack, because I wasn't able to think about where I was for gearing. Back in the day, that's all we had, man.
Yep.
And then Pi Research came in, and that was a system that people brought in. It was unbelievably complicated. You had to have an engineer essentially on your team to figure that out. But yeah, we've come a long way over the last 30-something years.
And we see it. I mean, I think I'm constantly reminded, even now, just going back to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the deltas through the field in these qualifying practice sessions and even the race sessions, by the end of the day, at these events now, I mean, it's about a 2/10 spread normally through the entire field. Crazy. In some of the high horsepower classes, which is wild. And then I remember looking at practice yesterday. I mean, it was a 2.5 spread for 80% of the grid. That would have been half of that. Maybe 40% of the field could have been under 3/10 just 5 years ago. Great. So the massive leveling of the field, and how now the littlest of components and the littlest of pieces make a huge impact on your 5th versus 10th versus first place performance in the current era, is all attributed to the fact that we have gotten accessibility to learn and be able to pick apart and figure things out that years ago were solely raw feel or straight up guessing.
And think about how much information, how much positivity it brings into a multi-car team, multi-driver team. You think about Travis Pettit coming over to Brandon Jarsacrack Racing, and how that data that he's been able to put into that team helps a driver like Marco Samet, because Marco now is able to overlay data with Travis Pettit. Now you got 2 guys at the pointy end of the grid there with an opportunity to show what each one's doing. Who's faster in this corner, who's faster in that corner. There's just so much that comes from the data that you're able to bring in with these Micron packages. And again, like you said, Xander, all that's done is closed up the gap between the guys that are maybe further back mid-pack or further back. They're not that far back anymore, and they're able to be right up front because the data they get is so good, and they're able to change the way they approach specific corners from session to session. And again, that's what makes it so important to be with a great team, with great people, have that culture under the team tent. You get guys like Austin Miles that can sit down with you and really change the way you approach corners on a racetrack.
Great look at the paddock here across all the major programs that are in attendance here at the Superkarts USA Spring Nationals. Mini Swift warm-up coming to a close. This class, like many, and similar to how we touched on with the X30 Juniors, does have a very close championship fight. Obviously, it's going to be really close with the drops in, but it's not the closest overall. And Pro X30, well, we'll get to that one. That championship did close up a good bit off the back of yesterday. If you took the drops in here with the mini Swifts, here's how they look. Mason Brody by 35 over Dutch Westbrook, Jake Manolio, Lucas Tarango, and then Brody Stoffel, the top 5 for the best 2 out of 3. Your pre-drop standings, of course, that changes a little, but not a ton. It would put him up by 65 instead of 35. So still a pretty open race, but a bit of a performance improvement here for Mason Brody just off the back of yesterday. That now brings him to the top of the points at the midway point in the season. Pro X30 now getting set to roll, but as we put the cap on Mini Swift here, Rob, I know you were beaming ear to ear yesterday. Great display of team work together for Jaden Francisco and Mason Brody.
You know, I was thinking about it over the evening, too, and I talked about the fact that I was so excited to see guys actually finally work together instead of battling. But then it comes down to that one extra little asterisk on it, and, you know, Mason Brody was the perfect wingman, right? He just stuck there, pushed all the way through, quickly became a 2-driver RPM battle for the race win. But it may have been a time somewhere when they had pulled out to a pretty good gap that should Mason have maybe tried to go back by. Because I think when you're running P2, again, I go back to the long time, couple decades ago when it was a guy like Sage Karam who he was able to win at ease. He would go into second and knowing for sure that he was going to be able to make the pass in the last couple of laps. Mason Brody was there the entire time, but he couldn't finish it off in the last couple of laps, the last lap. My thought was maybe should he have tried to go to the lead at one point? I don't know. I guarantee Jaden would have tried to go back by. Did he leave it on the table, not trying at least one more pass later in the race? What do you think about that?
I think that's a good point. No, I think you're right. And the reason I think you're right is that when you're talking about in that era, and even if we go in the full-size karts from K100s to Yamahas in that era, much more closer of a comparison than even the KPVs, but they're faster than those old Comet KPVs.
Yep.
The Cadets were on the Comer K80s.
They were.
That engine was a lot slower. It was a lot more draft-dependent than even the Micro and the Mini Swift. So you had that draft that was an even bigger safety net, that you weren't worried about your kart getting a little bit tight at the end or the other driver finding a little more speed, whereas especially on a track like this, Gus Lawrence described it very British, very tight, narrow entries, grip. There was grip here, but the surface was smooth, and we saw that on display. So the old adage of being able to wait, no, you still have to hit your marks perfect, and that'll be the case today here with Pro X30 as well. So let's switch on into that, Rob. I'll have you kick things off now with our final warm-up underway. Who do you got here for the top step of the podium for round 4 of this championship? Yesterday's main event, I don't know if anyone could have predicted it. Certainly a big-time winner, a big-name winner, and a repeat winner in Gus Lawrence. But that was chaos. What do you got for today?
So, obviously, in Pro Shifter, I kind of went with the guy who's going to be up front to start things off for the pre-final, thinking that maybe be able to roll that train all the way through with Morgado starting on the pole. Will he be able to win that pre-final and walk away, or at least be up front for the main? I'm going to roll the dice a little bit here. This is going to be the last race of the day, and if we are going to get wet weather, does it come at 1:30, 2 o'clock like it's potentially forecasted for? You know, you would say, hey, I lean towards one of the British drivers, right? The guys that know and kind of grow up driving in the wet. This is the guy I'm going for right now, Paulie Massimino. I say that because I think he was a little pissed yesterday, wasn't super happy with the way things went. I think an angry Paulie Massimino can be a fast Paulie Massimino, and I'm going to go with Massimino right now to grab the victory. He looked really good all day yesterday in both categories. I'm going to go a little different and go Paulie Massimino, although, as Austin Miles even said, he's not absolutely fantastic in the wet. I think he'll be up on the wheel when the main event goes this afternoon.
Caleb, who do you got?
Look, Rob, I was just calling you a smart man, right? And right now, I'm on top of the hauler of probably the winningest team in the modern era of North American karting in single speed. And yesterday, Gus Lawrence proved that. If there's rain on the forecast, Rob, this is an easy answer. Gus Lawrence, he showed pace yesterday. He's going to show it again today. That's why Gus Lawrence is my pick for the main event win today.
All right, I like that. And Rob, I mean, he kind of went your way of going, easy layup, British driver. Well, listen, I'm going with an asterisk on the British here. Oliver Hodgson has flown the American flag. He has been here for a long time. He resides in the U.S. 51 out of 52 weeks of the year. And I think, honestly, he is due. When you look back to Tucson, essentially the home race for factory karts being based down the road in Phoenix, Arizona, I mean, 100% they were on track and fast enough to win. Mind you, he finished third on track with the radiator draining water down to the point that he came in underweight. That's why we haven't talked about him in the championship, because until the drops come in, he's not going to be a major player. But I like the fact that he looked like he had been really, really quick here through the practice sessions. I know, obviously, he is fast because I have watched him and Paulie go at it in the wet, and he had the better of him. But Paulie was oh so close at the Rotax US Trophy Final in October last year. I'm going with this Brit, but really American. We're going to change that flag because he's requested it. Let's go down to you, Kyle. Who do you got?
Well, Xander, once again, I think you and I are on the same track here when it comes to picking the British. And if I'm staying consistent with what I thought in Shifter where it's going to rain, well, if it doesn't rain early in the day for Shifter, I've talked with our internal meteorologist, Carson, and we think it's definitely going to rain by the end of the day for X30. So who else to pick than Joe Turney? I don't think, and even if it stays dry, I think Joe Turney is the man to beat. What do you think about that, Xander?
I think you're wrong. I don't know what else you want me to say to that, Kyle. I don't think he's winning today. And I say that because, goodness, if he were to win 3 out of 4 races here of his year, or 3 out of 5 so far on the year and 3 out of 4 in the Pro Tour, he would be a huge favorite for the championship in Newcastle. I want to see a championship fight go down to the wire, and I want Hodgson in the mix of it.
I find it intriguing that on the 250th birthday of your country, all 3 of you Americans.
Oh, come on.
All 3 of you Americans
no, listen,
go
I
British,
said
and the
he
Canadian
is
driver.
not British. He has raced for Team USA. He has flown the American flag. You ask him.
Semantics.
You ask him where he lives. He says Tucson or Phoenix, Arizona. Hodgson.
The Canadian
I'm
picks,
changing the flag on the graphic right now, Rob. That's what I'm doing.
The Canadian picks the American. The Americans all pick the British. Wow. Sacrilege.
Well,
I had to roll the dice. Let's be real. I went for the easy pick and shifter, at least standard pick and shifter. I rolled the dice. Caleb went for the easy pick in both categories. He really mailed it in.
Yeah, well, he absolutely mailed it in. We've been seeing that. He's been taking more time off than he's been actually on the clock today. He's getting an espresso. He's hanging out in the clubhouse. He's playing soccer, ping pong, anything but driving.
He'll be at the food truck next.
I probably already went there. Okay, all right. What do you have, Caleb? We've been beating up on you.
Look, you guys are gambling men, right? I'm not. I'm straightforward, straight to the point. And look, my picks, yeah, maybe I picked the easy picks, but look, if you guys do the stats on who has picked the winning drivers more often than not, it's been me. Nobody else. It hasn't been Rob. It hasn't been Xander. It hasn't been Cal. I've got the picks right most of the time. And today, both of my picks are going to be right because that man right there is probably going to take the win today.
Well, he was fastest in warm-up, but I think Caleb is, characterizing his personality by zip code because if we were in Las Vegas, he would be a gambling man. Don't get me wrong here. And that's why, he might have something in common with your pick, Paulie Massimino. We know he's found a way to win on and off the racetrack.
Hey, listen, I'll say this. If it does rain, those 3 British drivers, I'm hoping Massimino will be there. It's going to be an awesome race in the rain with the guys that we know have that wet weather prowess, right? It's going to be so much fun to watch these guys in what could be very difficult conditions.
We'll take a quick break, folks. Qualifying up next from Cincinnati.
Motorsport is reinventing itself, and our mission is to accelerate this transformation so that it becomes even more efficient, cleaner, more spectacular, and more sustainable. Welcome to the next generation of motorsport. TotalEnergies and Peugeot co-developed the 9X8, an eco-responsible hybrid electric hypercar capable of outstanding performances.
Well, the track has mostly dried itself back out, and K Masters will kick things off here for qualifying. Yesterday, a Mario Barrios clinic, Rob, flag to flag once he got to the front of the field. It could have been a full, true flag to flag performance had he not got the start infraction from starting on the pole in the pre-final with not one but two penalties, a jump start and a tramline violation.
But yeah, as you said, once he got to the front, just the class of the field, unbelievably quick in the RPG Cosmic. Barrios scoring a crucial victory, too, because you think about the fact that Phil DeLeo and Josh Sarche, both the Arizona drivers, it looks like they're going to run the whole Pro Tour, which is fantastic, making the trek out here from Arizona with Hannah Greenmeyer on the wrenches and helping to coach those two drivers. So they've got a great start after DeLeo's 2 wins at the Winter Nats, but Barrios, if he can set things up, we could have ourselves a pretty good battle when we get to the Summer Nationals at the end of July.
Well, and if we talk about battles, Mike Rollison went out there for practice day, as he normally does, and then parks the car for the race weekend to make sure that all the customers are under the tent and happy. But last weekend, I think I probably saw a bigger smile from him than I had in a little bit, that he was racing, and he was having a good time running Masters Max. And I know he enjoys, like a number of the veteran Masters, the 125cc power plants, probably a little bit more, going a little bit faster, having a little more tools in the driver's toolbox than the K100. But Raleigh, I'll put the word out there now because I know it's quiet enough with only 7 of them that you can hear your teammate, your customer, he might need a bit of competition to make things fun. If that go-kart could be swapped over today, I know there's a lot of teardown going down. We could use an 8th because it seems like in qualifying right now, he does have them covered. It's closer, though. I will give Phil DeLeo credit. He did just continuously keep him honest. That last lap and the lap before, only a 1/10 of a second off the pace of the top dog, Mario Barrios, at a 60.43 to Barrios' 60.34. His teammate, Josh Sarche, a little bit further off in these intermediate conditions. Then Din, then Christian Smith, then Jose Eduardo de la Garza Elizondo. And the surprise here in the qualifying right now is that John May, from the podium yesterday in the fully dry conditions, he's not off by a lot, but he's off just a couple tenths, and it's dropped him all the way to the bottom of the pylon at the moment.
Well, knowing that we're only going to get 3 laps, right? The opening lap, you're just kind of getting some heat into the tires. It is a long lap, as we know, coming out of pit lane. So then you get around to that first lap on the racetrack. You're going to get some heat into the tires. Remember, putting the tires on for qualifying, that if you make one little mistake, you're going to be in trouble. Let's see what you can do on that last lap. This is when you have to make it happen. Cross the line for Barrios. 60.256. DeLeo off by just almost 0.2 of a second. Let's see if May's got anything and he rolls back across here.
Janae Din ended up losing that spot. Christian Smith got by him. No, Din with a big lap. Jumps to 3rd with the toe, And John May, last lap, will jump him up to 4th. Josh Sarche will slide down the board to 5th. But Mario Barrios will continue a clean sweep of the weekend sessions on track at least here. Pole pre-final before the penalties, and then the main event win by dominant fashion yesterday. He's pole here on Sunday. And what will that do in the championship standings? Well, pretty easy to be able to show you guys that as well here as we work our way through the day. First and foremost with KA100 Master on the championship with the pre-drop tallies. They have, like you said, Rob, a big turnout in Tucson. We lost a couple of the West Coast contingents here, and we made our trek over to Cincinnati, but thankfully we took with us a couple of the top contenders, including championship points leader Phil DeLeo, off the back of yesterday, and now with Mario Barrios getting that 10-point bonus for the pole. That championship lead is slowly decreasing, down to 89 markers here, pre-drop standings. So Mario Barrios not able to get the win at Phil DeLeo's backyard in Arizona, but the speed he's got here in Cincinnati, he is creeping up the championship pylon for sure.
Just with the drivers that we're going to have that are going to run the full program, it very likely will be these top 3 drivers in the championship fight when we get to the Summer Nationals in July. Barrios with the drop, taking that lead. DeLeo's going to have to get another solid run here. Again, this is going to line things up for a battle in round number 6 at the Summer Nats to see who comes away with the title.
So with one qualifying session in the books, we'll be back with more. We are underway, setting the grids for round 4 of the Superkarts USA Spring Nats here from Cincinnati.
Welcome to the future of kart race preparation. Kart Sim Pro North America. featuring laser-scanned North American kart circuits and precision-tuned kart physics developed using real telemetry, dyno and tyre data. KartSim Pro North America delivers the most advanced and realistic kart simulation experience available today. Whether you're training for race day, refining your lines, or shaving tenths off your personal best, KartSim Pro gives you pro-level insight without leaving your home. Trusted by world champions, coaches, and karting enthusiasts alike, this is where virtual practice translates into real-world performance. Experience the thrill, the challenge, and the edge. KartSim Pro North America. Use code CHASER20 to get 20% off today. Welcome to the future of kart.
So K Junior underway here. We're going to get a handful of drivers on the pylon now, but only a few of them, with this class being split into for qualifying. Yesterday, Nico Katowski, up and down day. Obviously not an ideal ending to Friday with having to go into this group here, having to fight out of the slow group. But the K Juniors, it's a good grid. It's just not so big that it's easy to get into the fast group. I mean, he was not necessarily way off the pace. Top 20 still put the couple of drivers here on your screen into the first group to go on the racetrack. And where you really get burned by that from Friday is days like today, where the track is drying out from that overnight rain, Rob.
Yeah, again, I think the track has probably got to the point where we're good to go in terms of pace. And you know, David Cole told us about some of the wet parts of this racetrack. I think primarily with the sun beating down, you can see the inside of the line. The racing lines, I feel, is fine right now. It's if you make a minor mistake and kind of get yourself off a little bit, you could find yourself with an issue. But now the rubber's going to go down. We're going to start seeing grip levels come up throughout the day. Every category should find better and more grip throughout the run through qualifying. Again, so tough though. Again, we talk about the fact it's only 3 laps. You got to get the job done quickly. And really, that's what I love about these shorter sessions. The longer sessions allowed the drivers to go out there and mess around. You saw guys slowing up, trying to find the guy to be with. When you got just a couple of laps to get the job done, I like the fact that we're not seeing any more of that kind of strategy happening from young drivers. I don't like that at all.
No, it's.
I hate it, in fact.
But it's part of it with even a session as long as this one with 3 laps, right? Sometimes with the track being in good conditions, that second to third lap you look at like you've got one mulligan. So we still end up seeing it, right? I mean, granted, shifter pole, shifter class qualifying, you don't really see it a lot anyway, but the green-white checker qualifying takes that out. And it's funny now that how many of our series across the country, Rob, have all slowly migrated to that. The SKUSA Pro Tour, obviously down to just the 5-minute qualifying sessions, that on a big track like this, when that clock starts, the moment the grid gets released, you're at either a 3, maybe 4-lap session, and pretty much almost every other series that we go to has relatively short qualifying sessions. And now, what was 5 or 10 years ago going, okay, well, this is unnecessary, the long session, we're just brake checking all the time, blah, blah, blah. Now all those long sessions are gone. Now all the people are hearing or saying is, oh, this isn't a real accurate read of raw pace, because we only got a couple laps, tires aren't in temp. And, well, I mean, you can look still over at the handful of series, both here and abroad, that have those long sessions, and half the time they hold them on the grid for 6 minutes, 5 minutes, just to go out and get that one lap anyway.
Well, it's interesting. As you think about the transition through the cars of the USF Pro Championships, because of what the drivers were doing, we were seeing that happen at the big car tracks as well, and that's even more dangerous when you're talking about slowing down on track when guys are rolling at 130 miles an hour. The USF Pro Championships at one point had a maximum lap time. If you did you over top of the maximum lap time, you got penalized. Now we just are able to go to the data, and there's a minimum speed as well. So if you go below the minimum speed on a qualifying session, you're going to get your fast times deleted. So I like what they've done in karting. It's allowed the drivers to go out there and put the fast laps down quickly and early. And I think, again, it's more of a full-on, hey, what do you have in your cart? Go out and get the job done. It's pushing the driver. It may not, like you say, be a true indication about right pace because you'd have that longer run to find that speed. But I like the fact that the driver has to go out and get the job done over 3 laps. I think it puts a lot more onus on the driver than the setup of the chassis. And
in a true high horsepower car, well up the sports car, IndyCar ladder, it is a long session, but realistically still a number of just 1 lap push laps.
Very true.
Training the drivers to go out, get one done, knowing that you only have a one shot at it, is good across the board. And again, it cleans it up and it saves us time on the day. Nico Kwiatkowski's one shot, 59.529.
He was 19th yesterday in the combined. He's at the top of the charts here with a 59.529, as you had said. Just a little bit off the time from yesterday, but not surprising with the overnight rain and the lack of rubber grip. But we'll see where he ends up this time. 19th is where he started that pre-final yesterday.
Most notably, he's got a 2/10 delta over Dominic Gaddis and Cruz Rodriguez, and that's really what we look for in these split top half, bottom half sessions. Is there's nothing that gives you the confidence coming out of it if you've got a huge gap in terms of lap time to the drivers behind, because you feel like the odds are better for someone to split the difference between you, and that lap that you put in is a little more accurate to what the fast group will be. But every session that we take to this racetrack seems to dry it out a little bit more and get it a little bit faster and a little bit racier. So we're going to see what happens now, what the benchmark gets moved to. K Junior at a 59.529, the time to beat here with the fast drivers rolling onto the racetrack. Fast drivers from Friday practice, obviously. Nico Kwiatkowski a factor yesterday in the mains, but he still has to go out in that group based on where they ended the day in happy hour. Marco Sammet in the middle of them from yesterday's win now. He's about 10th on the road, it looks like, here behind these three. Colton Schniegenberg, Tristan Murphy, Mateo Calderon. Schniegenberg should have started pretty high up. His speed was obviously good when he charged through the pre-final in K Junior, but he had a big moment right there at the end of qualifying. And like you said, Rob, the kind of waiting, the resetting, the trying to get a gap or not be the one to lead everyone around really forced the hand of the fast group to put a lap together only on lap 3. Lap 2 wasn't even going to be a banker, and he went off.
Yeah, 29th. Is where Schniegenberg started the pre-final yesterday. So indeed, looking for something better. Will we see maybe a repeat performance by Darren Kidd? He was the fastest driver yesterday in qualifying. Didn't play out for him after issues in the pre-final and the final. But for Darren Kidd in that 8:69, the Hotes driver development pilot, let's see whether or not he can match what he did yesterday, where he pipped Tristan Murphy by 0.3 of a second. It was a dominant pole yesterday for Darren Kidd.
It certainly seems like everyone's taken a bit of note of his strategy of trying to get some more separation, because, again, they were all nose to tail, about 15 of them, and then Darren Kidd came along about 10 seconds later by himself, punching his ticket to the pole. Today they're spread out nicely, but Travis Pettit, this lap here could be a heater. You could see him visually closing up to Mateo Calderon and that group in front of him. Might get there just a tick too early. I'd say he's a little bit too close for comfort going into these hairpins, because you want to start this back straightaway run already on the guy's bumper, and yeah, he's going to end up making the pass here on Mateo. That'll start this next lap a little further back. And look at the mud Mateo just drug onto the racetrack there. That was a great angle from our camera view on the exit of turn number 13, or turn number 12 on our track map, 14 on the SKUSA map, of the run down the front straightaway, because what was just dirt and light debris is going to probably be just pure mud all day long today, especially if you get another helping of rain at some point. But even without, I don't think we're forecasted for nearly the level of sunshine and combined heat that we were on Saturday. So for all that to dry back out, you even see still some standing water puddling up on the exit of turn number 6.
Unique conditions here with overnight rains, with the potential for wet weather coming again today. It's going to change everybody's mindset throughout the entire day. Good to see dry running here in qualifying, though, and we're getting things underway. We know Nico Kwiatkowski up on top with a 59.529. He is the provisional pole sitter from group number 1. Remember, he was 19th yesterday. There's that shot of the dip coming out of turn number 14. Could play a role throughout the entire day, as it's not going to be as forgiving as it was yesterday, Xander. Let's see what happens here. Pettit already to the top. 59.125. He goes about 0.4 quicker than Kwiatkowski. Pettit, very impressive here on lap number 2.
So this is the final lap here. The leaders will be a little ways up the road. Looks like they're headed into turn number 7, the first of the group to get to the timing loop. Travis Pettit's about midway through the pack. Here's yesterday's winner, Marco Sammet, leading the train. No tow for him on this lap. It looks like it'll be Braden Wagner or Nico or Alex Chandler trying to get the benefit of that off the back of yesterday's race winner. On this final lap, one around, top of the hill, Mateo Calderon facing the wrong way here out of turn number 11. Probably got bit by going a bit wide, trying to get a bit more as the checkers come out. First one to the line coming to us now, while the fast drivers from earlier in the session here are headed through the back sector. Nico Orbezo first to the loop. Ashton Wound to second across the line. Colton Schniegenberg jumps to second. What can Marco Samet do? He'll only get up to 10th or so, and he's going to get pipped by a number of the field. It'll be Travis Pettit holding on that third lap improvement that he did, a 58.901. Colton Schniegenberg from zero to hero here in terms of KA Junior qualifying. He'll go to the front row, and here's a look at what happened to Mateo Calderon. And again, all on his own, he started to lose touch with Travis, and I think he was trying to probably go a bit over what his known limit was to keep up.
Looked a lot like the incident with Blake Nash.
Yeah, very similar.
Just lost it there and then touched that right rear coming over. A huge difference for Colton Schniegenberg, plus 25 from yesterday, ends up second. Alex Chandler up there to third, Tristan Murphy fourth, Ruben Gutierrez in fifth. Scrolling down, Mateo Calderon, even with that issue, 17th. So not the worst, but didn't get a chance to capitalize on that third lap. Hey, better for Katowski as well. 11th.
Certainly better.
19th yesterday, so an inside row 6 starting spot for the pre-final.
And Dominic Gaddis, Cruz Rodriguez out of that first group, also still able to stay inside that first page in 14th and 15th. So a number of big names here. Mateo Calderon, obviously a wreck on the last lap. Didn't get that in. He drops down the board quite a bit. Cameron Johnson entering today in the top 5 or in 6 in the standings, depending which way you slice it. 25th on the board. He'll have an uphill battle to keep his championship hopes alive from 25th here in qualifying. But Travis Pettit, Marco Samet, the BJR dominance ends the day Saturday. It continues on Sunday morning. They sweep the junior classes with the 2 drivers, and now they have got the first pole award in the junior ranks on the day. But Colton Schniegenberg, very, very roller coaster kind of a day for him on Saturday here at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. I'm sure it is a sight for sore eyes to come in and see the time charts having that 8.27 Ryan Perry Motorsport machine ending up in second here at the end of qualifying. Alex Chandler, also a huge improvement over the day here. Alex Chandler had a very quiet and kind of off the beaten path day on Saturday. And he was a major player when we were in Tucson, Arizona. Nico Orbezo was also a little bit out there, but he had a great performance last week at the RMC Americas Trophy. So there's no question that he and Charlie Swain in the Iron Rock Motorsports camp don't know how to find speed here at this place. They just didn't have a great day overall for the first day of action here. But the nice part is, again, it's a clean slate. It's a new day here on Sunday. And Alex Chandler's got them starting third.
Yeah, just a quick look at the results, Xander. I didn't see this when we were working on the EKN report yesterday, but Colton Schniegenberg yesterday a DQ in tech after the end of the day as well. So finishing at the tail. So that'll be a drop for Schniegenberg here as well in thinking about the championship battle. A much better way to start the day, P2, and he'll be on the outside of the front row for the pre-final, which is set to go earlier today. When is the pre-final for 11:05? So later this morning for the KA Juniors, their pre-final.
Well, we've showed it a little bit there in that session, what the ruts look like now, and honestly, they're probably even more treacherous than yesterday. But yesterday, they caught out even some of the biggest stars, including rising star Lachlan Tomlinson. This was one of the very few moments that our phenomenal production and camera team didn't capture yesterday, but we did with the onboard camera. Look at this. This was midway through heat number 2. Drops the right rear off the edge of the racetrack, going down into turn number 1 right here. Keeps the power down, full 360, only loses 1 spot, only loses about a second and a half. Incredible. This Kiwi sensation here is certainly right in the same firecracker level impression that Jay Irwin has made here in a very short amount of time over the last couple of seasons.
And you think about where the spin is as you're coming, as he comes back around, he's right into the braking zone and the turning point too, to be able to handle that and be able to get through right behind Valiente. And the roll of the corner, super impressive.
Well, let's go down to Caleb Vieska here as the scale lines roll, and the green flag comes out for the first group here in Micro Swift with KA Junior through the line.
Thank you, Xander. And I'm here with one of the graduates from Micro Swift, Colton Schniegenberg. You won here in Micro many, many years ago. We spoke that day, and we're speaking again here today on the Sunday. Just kind of tell me about your weekend up to this point, because, again, it's been, you've had to work really hard. Yesterday, making passes all through the field, just kind of get me up to speed with how it's been for you.
It's been great. I mean, we definitely have a lot of pace in the KA, and I'm excited to see what we can do today, because yesterday we had to start freaking last, and we made it up to 7th in the pre-final, so we had a good starting spot for the final. But today, we're starting off P2, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
How good does it feel to be back at a place where you know you have success at here, Colton?
Great. I mean, I love this track, one of my favorites, and I'm excited to see what I can do today.
Well, we'll give you the best of luck here, Colton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, he's got a shot at it for sure. Great speed in qualifying there in the KA category, P2, alongside Pettit. So Colton with an opportunity to get himself right back into the mix. We'll be discussing him hopefully throughout the remainder of the day.
Certainly. Helps me not starting freaking last.
Exactly that.
He'll be getting the front row view on the outside lane here in the KA Junior race coming up. Micro Swift, the fight for pole, getting underway here with this first group. We were talking a bit about them earlier on, and we didn't really get to paint a full picture with the championship. We'll do that here in a moment as well. But in the Micro Swift group on track right now, Oliver Smith, Chase Zolman, Emmett Dalton, all fighting for that top spot here in qualifying as they run. This is still just with the fast group waiting in the wings down on the grid. And, of course, in the normal run of the day, we would have been right in shifter qualifying, but they're already set and loaded for their pre-final. We'll get to that shortly as well. So first times in, Emmett Dalton, 66.103. Sebastian Kim, Dylan Merchandini, Baron Chen. First couple laps coming across the timing pylon, and we're going to see, I think this is the end of lap number 2 coming to us right here. So the beginning of the final lap for him, including the 220 of Sebastian Kim, that'll lead us down the front straightaway. This should be the start of lap number 3. We'll see if he improves a bit. Emmett Dalton certainly does. JJ DeShong will go to the top in the all-black MSL Racing CRG behind his teammate. So that'll be an improvement. And he'll jump up the board with Dylan Merchandini moving forward as well there on the Ryan Perry Motorsport 230, pulls to within a tenth and a half.
Yeah, DeShong, Merchandani, Dalton, Kim, Chen out of the gate here to get things underway. One more lap. Let's see who's got it here on lap number 3. Again, you like to set that pace out front. If you can gap yourself by a couple of tenths of a second from the rest of this group, you may find yourself a little higher up. We saw it with Katowski. He was a couple tenths up on his group and ended up just outside the top 10 and 11th. So if you're real close, you're probably not going to get the advantage you want. But if you're 2-3 tenths up on everybody else, you found the pace you need, you may find yourself in a decent spot when Group 1 hits the racetrack.
Yeah, we saw it was only a 2/10 delta that Katowski had, and it still punched him almost into the top 10. Emmett Dalton trying to do the same. This will be a 65-31 for him. The pack behind, a little bit of side-by-side action there with Merchandini, but it will still pay off with a big-time lap there, 64-70. Nearly 6 tenths clear over J.J. DeShong. Sebastian Kim jumping up to 4th, and Dukulescu moving into the top 5 on the Norberg Academy GFC.
We talk about Delta. There it is, almost 6 tenths of a second for Merchandani in that 230 over DeShong, Dalton, Kim, and Dukulescu. So we'll see whether that is going to pay off for Merchandani. Nice lap to go up top, 64-708.
So that's the first group here. We do have now, this was the one of only a couple of classes we can get to talk about the championship, so I want to make sure we give the micros some love as well, especially because the pre-drop standings are the closest out of every single class. So with this fast group now getting ready to roll, the slow group starting to head into the pit lane, we'll take a look at that because Trey Sanders, by just 1 point at the moment, leads the championship standings here in Micro Swift. Boy, Rob, this is close. This is going to be so much fun to keep an eye on here throughout the day today.
Yeah, you see drivers who are, like Katowski 190 back, Strayer 206 back. These are the drivers that need to have massive round number 4s here today to get themselves back into it. But yeah, Trey Sanders up top, but Bo Wyatt right there. I love a good tight battle up front here. Tristan Francisco, 10 points separating your top 3. That's great stuff.
Now let's take the drop in here as if this were a best 2 out of 3 championship. Bo Wyatt moves to the top, but only by 10 over Tristan Francisco, only by 15 over Trey Sanders.
And Strayers to within 100 as well.
And again, 10 points up for grabs here right now when it comes to qualifying. Still early to be talking championship. And again, Danny Formal, thankfully we had him long enough to get him out of that first answer the drivers always give, which is it's too early, I'm not thinking about it, to go, yeah, well, I was also thinking about it. I actually was keeping it in mind because, as I mentioned back to him when he was talking about it, he's been around long enough. He's won championships and lost championships where in hindsight you get to that final round or the championship comes to an end and you look back and you go, man, if I would have just given that one spot up and taken a third instead of fighting for second, or if I would have pushed in that session that I didn't and just rode around and kind of gave up or pulled in early, but I should have kept going, would have got one or two more points. This is that kind of weekend here. This is that weekend that, yeah, you can certainly under pressure look at Newcastle and have a ton of woulda, coulda, shouldas, I'm sure, at that one. But rounds 3 and 4, this is going to play a huge factor in the points. And by the way, look at this. What do we have here on the Shop AKR replay? Well, it looks like it's still a little bit dirty on the access road, and it caught a couple of them. And was that Cohen Scott into the back of the Bennick? I want to say that wasn't Bo Wyatt. It looked like it might have been his teammate, potentially Wiley Lee in the 268.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know.
But looked like he kept it out of the fencing. He probably is going to end up somewhere on the racetrack without a dancing partner, and that's going to hurt him here.
Back to the point totally you're talking about. And again, I've been told so many times with driver interviews where I ask about the championship, and of course they'll give that line of, no, I'm just going to win races, and when I win races, the championship takes care of itself. I don't believe in that because the level of competition right now, I said that many times, you can't leave points on the table. And if you're not able to come away, whether it's with a pole or, as you said, you pull off because you're just not fast, you leave it even 2-3 points on the table, you're going to lament that fact when you go to the Summer Nats and you lose the championship by 2 points.
It's one thing if you're Elio Castroneves and you own a car at the Indy 500 and you pull off for that last restart so you can celebrate in victory lane when you're not fighting for a championship, right? But when you're fighting for a championship here, staying out, not giving up, continuing to go. You know, I remember thinking back to some of the first races that we had the pushback bumper, and when you would knock that thing in on the first lap, before we had all the appeals and before now, obviously, with a couple of classes that have taken them back off, you know, your heart just sinks into your stomach. You're all right, this is a throwaway race. And right then, you could have easily still, and I could have easily still probably outrun further than where I did. Yep. But giving up mentally early on, that's what you can't do, and that's what champions don't do. And so right now, qualifying, 10 laps in the case, if it was indeed Wiley Lee that we thought it may have been, not giving up and pushing to try and get that 10 points and continue to close the gap to, with the drops, potentially your teammate Bo Wyatt, who right now has already jumped up to second here in the qualifying session coming to the end.
Jack Katowski was the fastest driver yesterday's qualifying session ahead of Dusty Strayer and Shep Sullivan. We'll see what happens here again. Drivers now putting in their second laps here. Are we getting to the P2 laps?
Indeed.
Here they come right now. Tristan Francisco to the top with a 64.525. Second lap of this group is coming in. Compatiello ends up going up into the third position. Gutowski up into fourth. Trey Sanders to fifth. Shep Sullivan fast again right now into the top six.
He has been knocking on the door of that consistently top five kind of range of drivers here over these spring races. Last weekend getting some more reps in here at MCC. Shep Sullivan yesterday. Good speed, a good comeback drive up the grid as well. That big-time SKUSA Pro Tour win is looming. And Bo Wyatt knows it all too well of how long sometimes you end up having to wait. He had a 5-second plus lead, but got his first win in the Pro Tour removed, unfortunately, due to a jump start penalty, I believe, in Tucson, Rob. Came back through the rest of the races that we've gone to on the traveling circus of major events and turned a whole lot more heads, if they hadn't turned already, towards him. Now, for the qualifying fight for pole, Tristan Francisco is going to get a jump on him here, so he'll certainly go a little better. Bo will go to second. Let's see if anyone can top that. Compatiello will go to second and bump Wyatt back. But that elusive 10-point bonus as the final few cross the line is going up north. Tristan Francisco with a 64.11.7 is going to snag the first points on the board here at round number 4 in Micro Swift.
Another great lap for Shep Sullivan. He goes up to third. Remember, yesterday qualified third, backs it up with another third. So an inside row 2 starting spot in the pre-final for Sullivan. Francisco, Compatiello, and Sullivan 1, 2, 3. Bo Wyatt 4th, Trey Sanders 5th. You got to go back to 7th for Jack Katowski, yesterday's pole sitter, back by just under 0.6 of a second. Kick Knaus, Benjamin Monroy, and Cohen Scott rounding out the top 10.
So there you have it. Another class gridded up for pre-final action. 3 in the books, 4 more remain. On the other side of this break, KA100 Senior, groups 1 and 2 will take to the circuit and get after it here from Cincinnati. Stick with us.
When it comes to innovation on the track, Odenthal Racing Products leads the pack. From the highly popular EasyGP camera mounts to our tough case to GoPro case, racers everywhere trust ORP for strength, reliability, and precision. We're proud to be the #1 engine mount manufacturer in the USA. And with our new Easy Bumper Retainer System, you won't get caught out with a failed bumper bolt again. Odenthal Racing Products. Lead or get left behind.
Gee, looks like we're missing the engine. What the hell am I supposed to tag?
What do you mean? It's my Greyhound. It's all I need.
Where's the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
You gotta make way. Okay, you're good.
I'm sitting by here with Kyle, our race winner. Tell me how you did it. You were blazing fast out there, and I mean, you don't even have a go-kart, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, Norberg, Schmorberg, the Greyhound-powered Greyhound was great today. You know, it makes the difference. And the team's been working really hard back at the shop, and, you know, just shout out Greyhound.
Thank you, Kyle.
How the did you just win?
Doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
Qualifying underway now for Kart CRG USA KA100 Senior as they head on by the start-finish line to kick off the first of the 3 and potentially 4, but more than likely 3 laps they will get here in the first group. Let's go down to Caleb Vieska for a little bit of intel here, trackside. Caleb.
Thank you very much, Xander. I'm standing by here with my good buddy Hunter. We're at turn number 3, and this is really one of the only blind corners on the racetrack. You work your way through here, and again, with the fencing and everything that's right here, you can't really tell what's going on the other side, where anything is, which is why we've seen some trouble throughout some of the starts so far today. But look, this corner right here, you have water just on the inside of the curb right there, still very damp, and then on the other side, those rumble strips still have water collected in them. Again, the sun still hasn't hit. This is very shaded. So this is, again, still one of the damp areas on the racetrack that we have here, and it's going to be tough to navigate in this qualifying session. Maybe for some of these senior drivers, but for the majority, it is starting to dry off relatively quickly.
And I think where that's going to really potentially bite some drivers, Rob, is going to be those first couple of starts, those first few pre-finals.
That's it.
KA Master probably won't do much damage here, but that second group, KA100 Junior, they're going to be in for it if they don't have their eyes up on the start of both that water spray you can see on the exit of 3, but the dampness on the inside of 3 when they're 2 and 3 abreast, 35 deep, going through the first section.
That's it. Like the racing line is fine when you're in qualifying. You're all lined up. You're running on that nice dry line that we've worked on through the warm-ups and into qualifying here. But when you're in the middle of the fight midway through the pack and you're 2-3 wide coming through that corner, somebody's not going to be in the racing line and someone's going to have to handle the conditions, which will be much less optimum for those running that racing line.
This will be the end of lap number 2 here, coming to us for the first group. Let's see what their lines look like. We're following the 945 of Spencer Smith. He's got Joseph Hewitt in tow. Headed down the front stretch out of the dog leg. 60 flat from Carlo Rochetti is the time to beat off the out lap. This lap will go the way of Hewitt, 59.693 for that second lap around as they roll through turn number 2. But overall, we're still a good ways off. Of course, the times from what even some of the faster drivers have put up in the warm-up session. This last lap will need to be pretty hefty here for this first group to hopefully punch above their weight class in the split for KA 100 Senior.
John Leslie for GFC Karting goes P1 right now with a 59.585. Ibrahim Dean second, Joseph Hewitt, Carlo Rochetti, and Jacob Capel right now with your top 5. This is that group of Spencer Smith led coming through turn number 12, 13, and 14. Final lap, lay it down, don't make any mistakes. This is when the tires are up to temp.
So Leslie's way back here on the group, getting a bit of a toe off the back of Rochetti. Here we go, coming to the line, to the stripe. First few across. Can he go any better? Leslie will, yes. 59.215. Rochetti up to P2.
Hewitt did it first, then Capel, then Rochetti, now Leslie, now Din. Everybody flip-flopping around.
Late lap out of Ibrahim Din to leapfrog everyone. The very last second in K100 Senior.
10th quicker than John Leslie. Blade Fountain a good last lap as well. 2/10 off of Dean up into 4th.
Picked up about 0.6 of a second from lap 2 to lap number 3. So that's a vital note here for the fast group on the grid, that you're really still going to be looking at just one shot at this, all on that third and final lap here to try and go to the pole in qualifying. But it puts us right at the halfway mark in our session layout on the day here with K Senior Qualifying underway. Of course, next up, following them and continuing to roll straight on through the rest of our sessions here, we'll take a quick look at all that's coming your way with X30 Junior on tap for qualifying after we get done here with this K100 Senior group. Mini Swift will be up at 10:05 for their qualifying session, 10:13 on the schedule for Pro X30 qualifying. And then we go right from the last of our qualifying sessions into a batch of pre-finals with Pro Shifters pre-final being the first to kick things off at 10:25. They'll have 14 laps on their distance, 10 laps for K Master, going back to the doubleheader divisions with K Junior and then Micro Swift. We'll get through all the pre-finals today up until the lunch break. We'll have our break a little bit later on in the day, so we'll end off with the Pro X30 pre-final right before we take a short break in the action, and then solely main events for the afternoon batch with the free-to-view Pro Shifters at the top of the hour, I believe at 1:30. I'll have to look at our full schedule here. Indeed, 1:25 p.m. So if you're watching our free coverage right now, folks, yes, of course, once we get to pre-finals and the doubleheader main events, it'll be exclusive to KC Premium members. But if you haven't gotten a subscription yet, for one, we'd like to hope that we make a good case for you to have one. We've got a whole lot of racing. We've got a doubleheader that we're on the second day of here this weekend. Had grassroots club racing action down the road at Whiteland Raceway Park, K1 Circuit, Whiteland yesterday. We've also got a lot of racing coming up over the next few weeks. But if you aren't, well, you can share to friends and family that anyone can watch at 1:25 p.m. Eastern, 10:25 a.m. Pacific for that Pro Shifter main event. And, of course, all the racing action free to view Wednesday when we release the replays of it all and highlights throughout the day on our channels as well. But for now, if you're enjoying the coverage, we are thankful that you're watching, thankful that you're rooting for your favorite driver, and hopefully they have a good run if they're in KA 100 Senior. We're watching the hometown kid, James Overbeck, lead the pack around with Isaac Malkut right behind him. You heard from Austin Miles earlier. James has won here before, and he was up in the mix yesterday along with his teammate Paulie Massimino, but just couldn't quite get it done. Still came away with a good amount of points to keep his championship hopes alive, though, Rob.
That's it. You have to rebound if you've had issues. Let's see whether or not this Overbeck and Malkut pairing pays off as they're going to work their way around here. Again, looking to see if they're able to grab that top spot on lap number 2, 59.098 Ibrahim Dim. Yeah, very quickly as we see Caleb Gaffera go to the top of the charts with Massimino, Colin Lloyd, Eli Warren, Ruben Moya now up there as well, Jackson Gibson. So, yeah, a lot of action here. Matty Cagle goes P1 with a 58.598 on lap number 2. So lots of action here in this second lap as drivers go into the top of the charts here in KA 100 Senior, brought to you by Kart CRG USA. Who do we have here on the final lap?
Matt Cagle at a 58.59 with a half-second pickup from the slow group on their third lap. We saw a near half-second pickup on lap 2 to lap 3 in that group. So are we going to get down to a 57? We're following Caden McQueen. He's been struggling a bit this weekend, working through and out of the final sector, onto the front straightaway here this time. They're going to get one more, so they'll continue. Checkers not out just yet. So Paulie Massimino to the top. Gafera across the line to second. Chase Hand to third. They've still got one more in the bank. McQueen only seventh here on this lap. Paulie's already moved his way past Malkett now. Caleb Gafera following him as they hunted down Malkett and Overbeck over the last 2 laps. That lap might have been good enough for both of them. They might not be able to top it being stuck in traffic here this time.
Yeah, Overbeck 8th quickest right now. Oh, and Paulie's dropped the wheel.
Oh, man.
Big, uncharacteristic error there for Paulie Massimino, dropping a wheel. And that, what was that, coming out of turn? I think that might have been coming out of turn number 3. Indeed, an issue for Paulie, so it drops him back. I don't think, as you said, Xander, he was going to go any quicker. Right behind Overbeck, P8. This could help out, though, Caleb Gafera. No, he's going to drop a wheel as well, coming out of turn number 14.
So that's going to hurt them all. Paulie with a burn lap, he'll come in. Malkett out as well. Gafera, no improvement. Overbeck can't do anything better than 9th. Is anyone further back? Here comes Ruben Moya leading a big train with Edgar Rodriguez in tow. Do they have anything to say about the top spot? No, it'll be Jackson Gibson out of that pack going the best, but he only goes to 5th. Lap 2, all Paulie needed to sweep the poles here in Cincinnati.
That's 4 straight poles on the year in KA100 Senior for Paulie Massimino and Brandon Jarsacrack Racing. Wow. Lap 2, 58.086. Both he and Gafera, first and second, gave up their third laps after dropping wheels. So the second lap, good enough. Listen, Xander, we talked about it throughout the day yesterday. Yeah, you know that lap 3 is probably going to be your best, but that banker lap number 2, is so crucial. Both these drivers proving just how important it was to get a great, strong second lap. Chase Hand in third, Colin Lloyd fourth, Jackson Gibson rounding out your fast 5. Edgar Rodriguez impressive up into 6th, Eli Warren in 7th, Diego Ramos 8th. It'll be an outside row 4 starting spot for Ramos in the pre-final. Chris Harrower and Ruben Moya 9th and 10th. And where did Ibrahim Dean end up in that one? 17th as the quickest driver from the opening group.
Well, while Paulie Massimino once again stands tall here, Caleb Viesca standing by on pit lane has a bit more intel for us as we get our 4th class of the day gridded up for pre-final action. Caleb, what do you have?
Yeah, thank you, Xander. I'm sitting here with Gavin Bailiff. We just finished watching up that KA100 senior session. Quite interesting one, and we were just talking about it, right? This track has dried up quite quickly here, and I think the track got some help this morning. Gavin, tell me about it.
Yeah, my dad's a little bit pretentious about that, so I'm pretty sure he's been out here since 5 a.m. blowing off the track before anyone even came close to hitting the track, which it's part of what we do. It's something we do to keep the facility nice, but I don't know that the people in the RVs were loving them out here at 5, 6 a.m. just getting the track dry.
And again, we just watched some of these guys dropping tires, right? Paulie dropped one on the exit of 4. Then back there, we heard from Rob Gafera dropped one. Again, you're a seasoned vet in the KA senior class. What do you got to say to those guys?
Looks like rookies out there. I don't know what they're doing. You got so many laps by this point. Why are we dropping wheels?
Well, it's easy for you to say, right? Let's talk about your day as well. It's, again, been up and down. You're starting 9th, getting ready for the super heat. Just kind of tell me how the weekend's been for you.
It was a bit of a struggle. Just trying to find pace. There was some issues that we were finding with the chassis going back and forth between the two. Committed to the one, and we went one way, went the other way, and we finally found the setup in the second heat. We were able to set some purple lap times in the race and then end up with, I think, the second fastest lap. So I think 9th place, we're starting in a good spot. It's obviously going to be tough going into the final today, but everyone's going to be super close. So I think it's going to be a good race.
And again, we talked about this last week, right? You got the win last weekend, and it'd be no secret, and I know you really want this one. This is the one that you really want. What would it mean to you, and what is it going to take for you to get your first win here at home?
It's going to just take consistency. This is a really long final. So going into this race, just trying to keep a clear head. This is one race that I want to win more than any other race. This one goes up there with Super Nats for me just because it's home. We're in front of the home crowd. This is all I've been thinking about for the past 3-4 weeks. So I'm gunning to win this one.
Well, best of luck, Gavin, and I hope you make him proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Engines beginning to fire here, folks, now for the X30 Juniors. We touched on it a little bit earlier, like Caleb mentioned there with Gavin Bailiff. Of course, this is a home race for him. He lives just behind where that clubhouse where they were hanging out, and it would be a lot if he could pull a win off here, back-to-back weekends, doing exactly that. We've got a number of drivers here local to the region that are looking for some big-time performances, a handful that we'll get to as well here in your X30 Junior class as they roll onto the circuit now. All together, it looks like for this first group of them, the bottom half from final practice didn't necessarily have any of them looking like they wanted to get away from each other. So all together as they roll around the bottom of the racetrack here in turns 13 and 14. And when we talk about, meatball flag for one, not sure who we have over there. That is the 7-1-2 that has got the meatball flag. Here's what's coming up for us as well. Doubleheader this week and doubleheader next week as well as you're watching our coverage live here this morning. We've got 2 back-to-back grassroots events. An hour down the road from here in Ohio, a number of drivers of the G&J Kartways, the Ohio Valley Karting Association, the OVKA, playing host to a touring series event. And our first trip over there, we've been to Ohio a number of times here to MCC. We'll be headed an hour away next weekend. Equally, we're sending a crew back down to Texas where Caleb will be calling the action for the Texas Sprint Racing Series at Amarillo Motorsports Park. And the summer stretch of events will continue with action every single weekend. In fact, our calendar, folks, for those of you that have been following along, is filled up to the brim all the way to the end of October. There won't be a single weekend. We won't have some kind of racing action for you. This weekend, X30 Junior, first group, headed out of turn at number 13. There's the meatball flag again for Jack Cushman. And he'll stay out for one more, it looks like, as we go through qualifying. Now, they'll stop scoring him if he doesn't end up coming in regardless. But the unofficial timing right now, Mason Berry, top of the board to the 7 in the number 720. Tristan Murphy into second. Colton Schnegenberg third. 2 drivers that were very fast yesterday find themselves in the slow group. There goes Berry flurrying on through the frame as well, a little further back. But Murphy and Schnegenberg, the first 2, working on lap number 2 now. I think we'll see a pretty sizable improvement, even though this pack is pretty close together, that there's not necessarily been a lot of passing. It seems like we've got one of the fastest drivers up front in it. Tristan Murphy, of course, yesterday trying to hunt down Travis Pettit in the closing stages of that X30 Junior main. Led a number of the laps in the session as well. Here comes the meatball flag one more time towards, no, not Cushman. That is the interim S machine of Samia Chait Sanchez, the 7-0, or the interim S machine of Aguilon, actually, pulling on into pit lane, if that's correct there. So Aguilon into the pit lane with a meatball flag. Mustang, yeah, into pit lane there for the, and I believe that actually would have been for transponder. I don't think that was Aguilon. I believe I read that right. That was Jack Cushman in the 7-1-2, and it was for probably a lack of transponder. They finally got him off the racetrack now. This is the third lap. Colton Schnegenberg going to go for the pass on Tristan Murphy. Let's see what it does. The front of the group here coming through the back section of the racetrack now. Checkered flag more than likely will fly this time. We've seen a couple of sessions where it has been able to be a 4-lapper. I think this one will just be 3. Here it is. Checkers out. Schnegenberg leading the train. Last couple still coming out of the final sector. We'll wait on them. Colton Schnegenberg only to third. Mason Berry back to the top. The last 2 to the line will not change the order. Mason Berry, 57.286. Fastest at the end of X30 Junior qualifying group number 1 for the time to beat. With group 2 on deck. Braden Wagner, a solid performance on the GFC Formula Works machine. The 794 ends up second. Schnegenberg third. Clayton Stiles fourth. John McClellan ended up in the 5th spot as they work their way around the circuit on the cool down lap here. And we'll take a look as well of what is still to come your way here, folks, with more qualifying on tap. Mini Swift qualifying coming up here and Pro X30 to follow. Pro Shifters pre-final will roll at 10:25. We'll quickly be switching over then to the KC Premium members for all of the pre-finals. So it'll kick off 8 back-to-back pre-mains, going from Pro Shifter at 10:25 to KA Master, KA Junior, Micro Swift, K100 Senior. We'll keep that on rolling through X30 Junior, Mini Swift, and then Pro X30. So all those pre-finals rolling to a head at a close at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, and then we'll pick everything back up at 1:25 p.m. Eastern, 10:25 Pacific for that Pro Shifter main event. Here comes your fast group out onto the circuit now. Ashton Woon leading them, and I think we're going to wait a little while. Nobody wants to lead. Rob talked about it a little bit yesterday. This circuit doesn't necessarily seem to have a bit of draft. Well, the front stretch certainly does. And when we were talking about how close the times were, everyone has gotten this place so figured out. We've run, of course, this standard configuration for all 3 iterations of the Spring Nationals, along with the number of other Touring Series events that have graced the facility, that at this point, it's a game of inches, a game of thousandths. And if that can be made by being second or third in the train, it's worth the risk. But I think Ashton Woon's going to give up on that for the moment. Let's see if he stays out in front as he leads them back around out of turn 14. It's going to cost them valuable time, and if they're not careful, the back of the group, if they wait too long, or the entire group could lose that third lap. So I think that's what the realization is for Ashton in the 703. He'll pick them back up in a big moment here. Off the racetrack, Troy Ferguson, turn 1. Trying to pick things back up with cold tires. By going that slow, they're not going to put a lot of heat in them. Ashton's going to pull over now and drop back. His teammates going to the front there, and Mateo Calderon, Nathan Golseth. See if we have another look as well at what just transpired there for Troy Ferguson. Obviously a pretty cut and dry angle, even live there, showing you from down at turn 2 and equally on the run down to 1 that he had just too much speed at that point in the session with the temps of the tires going that slow on the outlet. And we're going to keep slowing things down. This is going to get wild here, folks. This is potentially going to burn almost the entire session. We're already up now to 7 minutes elapsed. Now, again, that timer starts when they leave the grid. Here's Ferguson. You can see he was full lock, fully hanging on to the thing before he even came into frame here at turn number 2. And he was going for a wild ride before we even got all the way to the exit curb. And then you can see that from the marbling that has developed on the outside of turn number 1, that if you're off the mark by a bit, it's going to take you the rest of the way. You could basically draw a line from where that dark groove ends and mark it as no different than the grass off the racetrack or the mud now in the ruts that have developed, because it's the same sensation when you get out into that stuff. Just no grip and a full-on four-wheel slide from the original direction you were pointed. But we're working this second lap now. We're working on to 8 minutes already. I think this is going to be really, really close for the field on time. Now, luckily, again, they weren't on a borderline at this racetrack being a full minute on the laps of whether or not they'd get 4, so that would have already certainly gone out the window. The question will be if anyone back further along, like Marco Samet's group there with Grayson Walcott and Ferguson, get trapped at all. There you can see the gaps from the pack. The front of the field still pretty close together to start lap number 3, so I think everyone should make it in under time. But they're all only going to have 1 lap here to try and dethrone Mason Berry, and the tire temps certainly going to play a factor. Some of them are still so close together that right here you can see Brandon Ang. That lap's gone. Nico Katowski making a pass hurts his lap. Enzo Di Gennaro following him. That hurt his lap as well. All 3 of these drivers are probably not going to be in our conversation for the pole. It's going to come down to either the 3 in front or a couple further back. Woon, Gutierrez, and William Vitor right here. First 3, 4th, 5th, and 6th on the road are probably not going to be in the contention for pole. It'll be the back of the pack that we'll keep an eye on as well in the fight for the top spot on the box here. So Woon will be the first to the line as he rounds turn 13. There was a pass even again, this time Di Gennaro on Katowski. But here's the back of the group. Here comes the front of the group now coming out of the final section. Ashton Woon, Gutierrez, Vitor, they'll be in the hunt for it. Let's see what they can do. Woon will go to the top first. Does he get pipped? Yes. Maxwell Macha, Marco Samet as well to the top. Grayson Walcott, big-time qualifying effort. That should be a career high, I think, on the Pro Tour with a 3rd. Woon all the way down to 4th, but only 75 thousandths off. Gutierrez 5th. Travis Pettit, yesterday's winner, down in 6th. Ferguson recovering from an off-track moment there on lap number 2 to go to 7th. But look at Nico Katowski, down in 15th.
Wow.
With the pass made, Enzo Di Gennaro was still able to get up to 9th. And the driver that lurched probably the most out of it was Brandon Ang. A wild and scary moment yesterday for Connor Lipka and Mason Berry. Unfortunately, Connor Lipka He is not racing today. He had a very, very scary moment with Mason down here at turn number 1 in qualifying. It was our first red flag of the day that came very early on. The Superkarts USA officials did a great job of course correcting, getting the day on track. And thankfully, we were able to roll the replay because, both drivers are okay. In fact, Mason Berry, of course, rebounding today with a great time in qualifying. But look at this. Berry nearly 4 feet in the air, launched after riding for probably a good 400 feet on the left rear shoulder of Brandon Eng as the two were stuck together down at turn number 1. Very upsetting and downbeat tone to kick off Saturday, Rob. Thankfully, obviously, both drivers okay. The medical team quick to check them both out. And happy to see Mason Berry having a good run and Connor Lipka in good spirits as well.
Yeah, Connor's birthday yesterday, first and foremost.
Tough one.
I was messaging with his dad, Chris, yesterday, and he said nothing was broken, just a bad sprain, maybe tendon or ligament, whatever it may be. And they're obviously not racing now. They're going to get an MRI when they get back to Phoenix, but again, it was, his mom kind of joking it was kind of funny that they were back where they met each other for the first time 12 years ago. So
wow, how about that?
Exactly. So listen, it was a super high speed wreck, but just the angle of attack. Good to see Mason back on track with a good qualifying run. Again, we send our best to Connor to make sure that he's back on the mend, and we'll see him at a race. So hopefully very soon.
So Maxwell Macha. A great performance to end on Sunday a week ago here in the Junior Max at the Rotax Max Challenge America's Trophy. Now on pole and a 10-point bonus scored in X30 Junior. Question now becomes who's going to get those valuable 10 points here in Mini Swift. It was all Ryan Perry Motorsport on the front row all day long yesterday in both the pre-final and the final. But Aiden Go is among the many who have shown the speed to dethrone them. He's lined up on the grid along with the rest of your Mini Swifts. Looks like we'll send them all out together as one big group, so that gives us plenty of time to show you all the faces here as they get set to fire the engines. And I believe that Pro X30, they may do the same as they did yesterday, even without the delays in the day, because we're running right on schedule. Hudson Howard on the inside there in the JHDD color, the white and blue MPG Motorsports Kart Republic, chilling. Waiting for the command here to head on track.
Just one quick little update. David Cole actually dropped me another note. The X30 Junior is about 0.3 of a second off the pole time from yesterday. So you're thinking about the difference. Xander, I don't know if you mentioned that at all, but I think that's interesting to watch for all these drivers here, knowing that the track off just a little bit right now. We'll see whether or not we get back to the fast times that we had yesterday.
But I think it's important how close that it is. I mean, 0.3 off, considering the rain, considering how many wet patches there are. The pace can be there, but certainly, as we've seen it already here in qualifying with Troy Ferguson going off, Mateo Calderon going off earlier in that K Junior session in 11, this track will be very treacherous to race on today. And we touched on it with the pro shifters and how they'll line up for the pre-final. The outside wouldn't be a bad place to start there. I think the straightaway is pretty clean. I think the outside's going to be very treacherous here for the single-speed classes rolling through turn 2, turn 3.
Yeah.
You'll want to hope that you rinse out on the inside, ideally with the pole award, but at least getting down to the inside lane in turn number 2 by the time you get through turn number 1. Howard already playing a little bit. We had a lot of gamesmanship and waiting in X30 Junior. It bit a couple of them because they didn't really get up to full song until the third lap, Rob. And most notably, Ferguson had an off-track moment on lap 2 because as they finished lap 1, they continued to do this. And now that might have just knocked a pushback in there with the heavy impact for Slate Harrell as they are all stopping, and this is a roadblock.
Well, this comes to the point where race control could look at this and say, listen, you are impeding right now as well. I know that we're not yet on a flyer. We haven't got around to start finish yet, but that's one of the things these drivers have to worry about. If you impede a driver who is at full song and essentially on a qualifying run, you're going to find yourself a foul of the race control. We see a lot of gamesmanship happening already right now, only now jumping on the throttle out front here.
So here we go. Just now picking things up. Now, it didn't hurt the X30 Juniors because of how fast they are of losing that chance at the third lap, but it certainly could, especially with the back of the Mini Swift field. I mean, this is the biggest quality group we've seen in a minute. You can see there's still drivers going into turn 4 while the leaders are headed down into turn number 7 on the layout. So there's a lot of a lot of gap time from the front to the back of the pack that could catch a couple out if they're not careful. I mean, we're already down to 2 minutes away, and we're halfway through lap number 2.
And it is crucial, that third lap, rather, for these drivers here. Again, you have to have that. Again, we talk about lap 2 being that banker lap that both Massimino and Gaffari use, but man, with these drivers here in the Mini Swift category, you do not want to forfeit that third lap.
No, not one bit. I mean, you cannot afford to. I think the front of the field's obviously going to be safe here. They're going to run in the low 1 minute times. I mean, that was a 63. So if we go off that marker, does the back of the field get to the timing line before we get down to a minute 3 to go? I think they will. I think they'll be all right.
Yep.
So everyone will still get 3 laps in, and now at least with Aiden Go leading Jake Manolio and Marcelo Flores, that seems to have calmed everyone down for those that did not want to be a leader at the beginning of the session. And the good news for Aiden Go, he's got help. He's not just out there by himself towing the line. He's gotten some pushes on the main straightaways. First lap in, though, with a very slow time, of course, for Mason Brody at a 63.79. This lap will be the first real read at where we are with the track conditions for Mini Swift and Pro X30 queuing up on grid.
Quick look at just jumping over there, Xander, to see what we had for fast time yesterday. Again, we talked about being 3/10 off an X30 Junior. Mason Brody, a 61.8 was the quick time yesterday, 61.8, so a 63.7, 2 seconds off where we were now. Again, only the opening lap.
So this lap will bring things closer, 62.65 for Mason Brody that time by. Good lap for him.
0.8 of a second off of yesterday. Brody, Francisco, Westbrook, Chavari, and Slade Harrell. Top 5.
And so I've got my eye on Dutch Westbrook further back because this group of 5 here going side by side on lap 3 are going to be hurt. But Westbrook and Brody Stoffel, I think they're going to be in a great spot here back there. They are they might be getting a bit too close now.
Yeah.
They were in a good spot. They're going to get a great tow up to them. It depends if they pass. If not, Hudson Howard might be in an even better spot here to finish this session out. But this first group rolling through 11, there you can see Westbrook closing up. He's well within the tow range, but they're side by side in front of him. This is going to be close of who gets the best run to the line. It's a long run out of turn number 14 onto the main straightaway. And here we go, round in the final few turns. This big first pack coming onto the straight now, led by Jake Manolio. Last lap, who is going to shuffle to the top of the leaderboard as they shuffle across the line 2 by 2. Big lap out of Brody Stoffel and Westbrook to go to second and third. Here comes that second group further back. It's not going to have as many of the big contenders, and it won't make any noise. It'll be Mason Brody off the second lap of the 3, holding by a near 2/10 margin. This young man continues this phenomenal June stretch. Mason Brody, 62.658, nearly 2/10 up on his teammate, and once again, it's an RPM front row.
That's exactly what we saw yesterday. Different drivers, but Brody and Stoffel 1-2. Westbrook, Harrell, great job for Slade Harrell as well. Francisco, yesterday's winner, P5. Hudson Howard, Lucas Tarango, 0.8 of a second off the fast time from yesterday, but it doesn't matter as it's a 62.658 for Mason Brody, P1 for the pre-final this afternoon.
So that'll bring the Mini Swifts to a halt, and our one final qualifying session remains on the day. Pro X30 getting queued up to go green here in a matter of moments. Our last session here in the free coverage from the morning. We'll again have our Pro Shifter main event free to view at 1:25 p.m. Eastern, 10:25 a.m. Pacific. We'll be back on the other side of this break with the other Pro division, Pro X30, getting ready to set the grid for round 4.
Karting isn't just speed. It's control, precision, freedom. At Atlanta Motorsports Park, Kart Freedom isn't just a team. It's where drivers are made.
Cat food marketing. $9.99
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
So let's get back at it here with the final qualifying session of this year's Superkarts USA Spring Nationals. Pro X30 rolling onto the racetrack, and I guess we'll give the drivers here, the pro drivers, some leeway in this warm-up lap. Paulie Massimino leading them out. Everybody rolling back and forth, scrubbing those Avinco tires. Let's get some heat going before we fire things up.
Again, no different than what we mentioned in the other classes, the fact that they have been so close. I mean, yesterday came down to a true tie on the lap charts. Paulie Massimino and Joe Turney tying with the tiebreaker going to the second best lap, which went the way of Massimino. So every little bit matters. If you can get that perfect toe lap, it will pay off. At the same point, if you're Paulie Massimino back in the field up here, burning the clock, right, you can catch some drivers further back out in this 25-driver grid. And that's why you see them starting to scatter 2 and 3 wide. Caden McQueen is stuck in the middle. Jake Drew, Joe Turney. When they all start to spread out and hit the gas here, the back of the pack's going to get caught out. I mean, look at this. We're already halfway in. You see Jose Halfin, Caden McQueen starting to get impatient. And so by Massimino creeping around, them all, I mean, at any point they all can go up and pass him, right, and try to put a lap in. I think that's what Halfin's trying to do now. He's giving up. He needs to get some laps. He's going to go. So Jose Alejandro Halfin in his rookie season in X30 Pro X30 is going to say, you know what, I'm going to make sure I get 3. Everybody else right now jammed up behind Massimino is going to run the risk of only getting 2 at best. Well, it's just about confirmed now. They're only going to have 1 push lap because this lap's going to be too slow. Here comes the next one. Franco Escoto is going to go. This is going to be wild.
They're all burning their first lap right now. We know that. So it's either going to be 2 laps or 1 lap, depending on how much time they've burned here. 140. Wow. Yeah, Xander, we may get 1 push lap. So this is going to – what a play here for Paulie Massimino. Set the tone coming right out of the grid.
He knows they're going to want a toe off of him, right? He knows they're not going to want to let him get a toe. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't impede anybody. He stayed kind of off the line and very predictable. He wasn't necessarily warming his tires left and right and blocking the racetrack. My only fear now, though, I think the 3 that passed him, he might catch him here on this push lap because Franco Escoto has not had the pace nearly of the leaders, and that might hurt Paulie here. Oh, Franco's going to pull out of the way here. He's going to drop back now, so that will hurt probably the middle of the field. Now he's going to go in front of Turney, Ramos by Roberts. This is going to be a mess.
And all those guys that went to the inside of that corner, they're going to blow this lap.
Smart play by Caden McQueen and Ruben Moya. I think they might actually end up pretty good out of this whole deal because they have waited a good ways, a long way to put their laps in. Turney making a pass on Lawrence there in turn 2. That's big. Joe Turney just burned Gus Lawrence's final lap of the session now because they're not going to get back to the loop, I don't think, before the timer hits 0.
I don't think so either. I think this has changed everything here.
This could put a disastrous tone as Lawrence sends it back on Blake Nash. So those 2 now burn their laps, throw them out the window. Turney's going to hit traffic right here. This is going to be crazy, Rob.
That's not something I've ever seen before in a qualifying session. They waited so long, then didn't even get rolling for the quick lap, the second lap. Burned 1 lap. They're going to run out of time. This is going to be it. 4 seconds, 3, 2. Checker flag's going to fly here at start-finish.
This is going to be a big shakeup. Keegan Kaminsky leading them onto the front straightaway. The back of the field's going to come around here. Caden McQueen and Ruben Moya have a long time until they get there. There they go. Here's Kaminsky along the line. It'll shuffle. Ramos and Massimino. Turney, Hodgson to the top. Here comes those final two. Moya got by McQueen. Ruben Moya steals the pole. 0.8 of a second clear of the entire field. Ruben Moya. Wow.
Okay, how about a one-lap dash? Where did you place yourself? How were you lined up for that last push lap? 56.577. Hodgson, remember, if the wet weather does come this afternoon, we're thinking maybe 4 o'clock. You've got your British drivers in second, third, and where is Lawrence?
Gus Lawrence got passed by Turney to start it.
16th.
This is a disastrous Sunday morning for Gus Lawrence off the back. Talk about the highs of getting that first win of the season yesterday to go into the outside of row 8 for today's pre-final. He's not alone back there. Keaton Kaminsky had a phenomenal Saturday. He ends up down in 22nd because he had no toe on that last lap. Macy Williams down the board. Finn Bailiff 20th.
So Moya, Hodgson, Turney, Ramos, Turner Brown, the top 5 drivers. That's going to be front of the pre-final. Those guys with an opportunity to stretch away and lock down what would be a fantastic starting spot if we do have a wet weather main event this afternoon. What a wild and unique qualifying run. Paulie Massimino stacked them all up at the start. They ended up getting just one lap. Man, where would you have placed yourself in that one? Would you have jetted out first by yourself? Man, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think jetting out by yourself looked like it would have been good.
Agreed.
Or honestly, doing what these two did. I think this was probably the smartest play. It was unfortunate for Caden McQueen that he just did not have pace. It has been a rough go of things here in Cincinnati. But Ruben Moya waits, lets them all play the games in front, and he gets the pole.
0.8?
Wow. Oh, yeah. 0.8 and some change on top of that, Ruben. Big time pole delta. Biggest one of the season, and it probably won't be topped for quite some time.
I've not seen anything like that before. Absolutely wild in that qualifying session. And again, one person played it correctly, Ruben Moya on the Pantano for forward direction. Motorsports coming away with P1.
Well, Ruben, 0.8 of a second on what was a wild qualifying session. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it was no one was pushing, and it was the same thing as yesterday. Yesterday I pushed. I was leading the group, and everyone started to push. So today I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay behind, so clear track, warming up my tires, whatever I want to, and then have clear track to push.
And again, it's much easier when you start up front right after the day you had yesterday. What were your biggest struggles, and how are you going to stay up front here today?
I mean, yesterday we didn't have a day. We didn't have the luck by our side. So we had the speed in X30. In KA we are missing some speed, but X30 we had a good speed. But only I got a stupid penalty on pre-final. I didn't have my GoPro to prove it because it freezed after 45 seconds. So there was nothing I could do, and then starting from the back is always hard.
Yeah, well, there you go. Congrats on the pole today, Ruben. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
That'll do it. Qualifying wrapped up here for the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, the SKUSA Spring Nationals. We'll be back on the other side of this break with pre-final action for Pro Shifter.
This broadcast is the sole property of Kart Chaser Group, LLC. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of the images, audio, or accounts of this event, in whole or in part, without the expressed written consent of Kart Chaser Group, LLC is strictly prohibited. Thanks for watching.